Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Jimmy Eats Soup, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Revolter, JMeld24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKeegan, Retro Bill, More Books, Bear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
So I'm glad there's going to be a show because the events that unfolded on QE's show, they're still stuck in my head. Like, did that really happen the way I heard it happen?
I cannot comment because I haven't watched it.
Oh, you didn't? You weren't there for the beginning, and I didn't know that was that freaking guy, Brian Leakey. I didn't know that was him. That freaking guy, man. He's lucky I didn't know it was him.
I don't understand the logic in like a flat earther makes a claim, and then other flat earthers want to back his claim just because he's a flat earther. It doesn't make sense.
Well, the thing is, if you listen, you need to listen to it real quick because right from the beginning, within 2 minutes, QE plays with it, contradicting and double speaking. And this guy comes in and says, well, I'm going to defend Witsit here. What the heck am I in bizarro world?
Yes, you are, Neil. This is do not touch the dial. We control the horizontal, the vertical. So Twilight Zone. Oh, that's Twilight Zone. Never mind. Look, I know it's a contradiction, but in all fairness, he's a moron. Did he go with that defense? Either my speaker crapped out or Neil's not paying attention to me.
Your speaker.
Nah, I'm loading tools. I don't want to make noise. I'm on mute. I'm on mute. Listen, this is how does Nathan say it? I can't say it. I'm trying not to use foul language. But at the end of it, it's wittery. What's the first word? Don't say it. F wittery that we deal with on a daily basis. And listening back, that Rachie, her name is Rumpchi. No more Rumpus. She's Rumpchi or Rachis. Pick a name because that's the way she sounded. Talking right through people, not listening to anybody. Helen Adams, she demolished him. That means it's delusions of grandeur today.
Yeah, demolished what positive claim did Adam? Oh, yeah, Adam wasn't making the claim, right? That'll teach him to not make claims and get demolished. Like, I just don't understand people.
He demolished him by saying, when the car's accelerating, do you feel wind on the back of your head? Yes or no? I demolished you.
Wow. When you're accelerating, you feel wind on the back of your head.
Think of the helium balloon, what they try to pull with the helium balloon. And Adam was asking her what goes on with everything if the earth is moving up with the gas, the liquid, you know, what happens with that? And she started doing a balloon illustration with the car going, where the helium balloon goes. I think Adam did say something about wind. I'm not sure. I could hear it.
Well, it's interesting that they would bring that up because I've been thinking about this, the way they phrase there's a density gradient because the earth is moving up. They've introduced a dichotomy with an if and then statement. They've not done it really well, but it's their if and then statement. So if the earth is rising up, then we'll have a density gradient. We do have a density gradient, therefore the earth's rising up, right? But the thing is, clouds are denser than the air around them. So do we really have a density gradient?
Yeah, they're all, and I thought I was under the assumption that once you got the earth rising up, you can't use how do I say it? We can't use the same, like they'll use how gas pressure and everything works in this paradigm here or this system here, but it can't be the same if they're introducing an upward rising earth, right? The same rules can't be in effect to that. It's got to be totally different.
Right, but no matter how they phrase it, it's going to be a dichotomy of if this, then this. This,
I agree.
therefore that, right?
Yes.
So all you got to do is point at the clouds, and are the clouds falling on us?
Not falling on me.
I mean,
Hey guys,
like nobody's walking around, and all of a sudden a cloud just hits them in the head. You know what I mean? So, what density gradient are they talking about?
well, I would ask them what Earth are they talking about? What do they mean when they say Earth is rising? Do they mean the ground is rising, or the whole Earth is rising in a vacuum of space?
The same
Because
thing.
that's how I see it.
The controlled up narrative from the Flat Earth Society is Earth in a dome, rising up through a sky vacuum, space as we know it from the heliocentric model, just with Earth as a pizza pie with a dome over it floating up. That's what they're claiming. Now, it doesn't matter if it's through space or what. They are claiming the very ground you stand on is rising up. That's all you need to know, really, isn't it? It's absurd.
Well, hold on, but there's something else to it, right? Because they're claiming a density gradient. Because if you stick something in a centrifuge, you're going to get a gradient form, right? So if you express something in acceleration or any kind of movement, you'll get that gradient, right?
Depends on what you're talking about. You're talking about liquids or gases?
Well, what my point is there's clouds above us, and they're not hitting us in the head. So what density gradient are they talking about?
I don't know. It's just like when they tell us that there's layers in heliocentrism. You're like, all right, is that the case? According to you.
Well, what I was saying is they're introducing a false dichotomy when right out the gate, because they're saying the density gradient is caused by Earth rising up. Well, you can't put that in a hypothesis, but it is a dichotomy. So if you're not experiencing a density gradient, the Earth isn't rising up.
And you're saying
basically, if the clouds ain't hitting,
and you're saying clouds are a demonstration of us not experiencing a density gradient.
yeah, they're not hitting me in the head right now, are they? You?
No. as for Rachie, she's just echoing how Dell argues this. That's all that was. You listen to somebody's patter and banter over and over again, you're going to pick up on it and start parroting it. It's just the way it goes.
I just think it's odd that right out the gate, every time they introduce a false dichotomy, right? But the false dichotomy is not in their favor. That's where the first step they take is to debunk their own position.
Yeah, sure, but the whole point of this position being in our realm, the flat Earth realm, is so it can be pulled apart and shown to be nonsensical by an opponent on the globe for their false dichotomy. You're looking at this all wrong. You're like, well, it's easy to debunk. Yeah. That's right. Well, if that's happening while the globe's being claimed, that's quite useful, isn't it? If you think about it that way, suddenly it all makes sense, doesn't it?
I'm not addressing how it's beneficial to people that's got a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but is actually an upward accelerating Earth with bent geodesy.
But that's the only person it benefits. Does it benefit Dal? No, he looks like a complete clown claiming this. Did it benefit Rachie? No, she looked like a complete clown claiming that the ground we're standing on's hurtling up. No, it makes you look very silly. Does it benefit the heliocentrists who stack it up in false dichotomy? Oh yeah, definitely. So only really benefit, unless you can tell me someone else it benefits, this nonsense that is.
Ethereans. So now there's like a false trichotomy. You got the heliocentric, Etherean, and upward rising earthers to explain a phenomenon we don't observe. It might be why everybody hates us at the moment.
I don't hate you.
Oh, thank you. It makes me feel warm.
So what's on the
Got
menu
real.
today?
Again?
What's on the menu today? Is there a topic for the show today?
For me, what's on the menu is just assessing the show as like I've done for the last 8 or 9 months, just to make sure it runs smoothly. And then hopefully by the end of the week, what is it, Thursday? I don't normally like to mention the day, but by the end of the week, I'll be doing the same thing, monitoring the show, just making sure it's smooth, so that come next week, I'll delete all of the monitoring stuff from my desktop so that I can actually focus for the first time in almost a year on the show as opposed to on the hardware. I know before we started recording, Neil's like, oh, I'm sure it's going to all crash. Well, no, the hardware's now fixed as far as I can ascertain. All of the hardware now works as it should. Now, in terms of me tweaking it a little bit to get a little bit more efficiency out of it, that may cause problems. In fact, if I'm ruthlessly honest, it already has. I've got some mouse ghosting as I lowered the voltages on the GPU, but it's a new piece of hardware. So other than tweaking it like I would any other piece of new hardware, that's all there is to do. And that'll be done within, well, by tomorrow probably. Most of it's done. So like I say, by next week, it'll just be focus on the show to answer your question. What's on the menu for me, monitoring the show. Hopefully you guys will pick up the slack for the next couple of days, just while I check that this now Beast 2.0 computer is actually, worthy of running the show consistently and won't actually give me any issues moving forward, because I do want to iron out anything that does come up in the next couple of days, as I've been doing that for 9 months now, actually. Anyway, so that's what I'm hoping you guys will do. I will do, obviously, housekeeping and hope that the conversation just develops from there, so I can still monitor temperatures and monitor clock speeds and check things aren't crashing, etc., etc.
Well, if nothing else, I'll
Fantastic.
bring
I'll
up structural
participate as much
support,
as I can.
and I'll
Oop. One more time, John, and then, was it Jorge? Go ahead.
I was just being facetious. I said, if nothing else, I'll bring up structural support to keep it going. But sorry, Jorge.
No, no problem. I was just saying I'll participate as much as I can.
Good.
That's what I just said. Hey, you guys.
Hey.
Good
Squirrel.
morning.
Morning. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do.
Good morning, man.
It's new hardware. I've put a new set of screenshots up. I don't know if you've noticed in the Hangout. So there's new slides going by, an hour and 40 minutes worth. It's taken me 2 solid weeks to edit that video. The one that's going by as a slideshow. It is a video, although it's just stills. But it's a lot of material, and they flash by every 15 to 20 seconds. Some of them are a little bit longer, but you know what I mean? They're fairly rapid, because my issue with the last set of slides was they just hung around too long. They were on screen too long. So people like people. So a lot of the slides in the new reel are of people we've covered. That's where I've got them from. In other words, as I've gone back through what I've got on thumbnails, I've also obviously got the original slide that I've used for that thumbnail with the person that we've covered in the video. So, Penguin Z in this instance on screen now. We've done a response video to him. David Mitchell, we've done a response video to him, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so it just demarcates when the computer has changed with a nice new slideshow.
So what's your temperature looking like right now in the room
What's my what?
and on the computer?
Say again.
What's your temperatures looking like? The temperatures in your room and on your computer, are they looking good?
Fantastic. So it's a reasonably warm day. It's average to slightly warmer today because it's summer, and everything's normal. I haven't got the recording running yet. I haven't got the live stream running yet, should say. So everything looks normal. RAM's in the 50s, CPU's in the 50s, GPU's in the 40s. It's like idle temperatures while it's recording. Fantastic. Normal. Shouldn't be saying fantastic for a computer just running at normal temperatures. You know what I mean? But to me, it's fantastic.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like, if you've been feeling a thermal runaway, it's got to be miserable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was in the room. I mentioned it at the end of the process when things were starting to look up in that regard, because things that you don't want to acknowledge, you just have to sort of never mention them, and then you kind of ignore them. So the fact that I've got sweat pouring down my back most of the time running the show wasn't at all fun, because there's a 1,000-watt projector and a couple of 1,000 watts worth of amps plus the computer. It chucks out a lot of heat. You know what I mean? And they're all running very, very inefficient processes.
You think you'd have reacted to Dell the same way if you hadn't been in the heat?
No, I'd probably be a lot happier, and my temper would be a lot less short. Half the time I'm dehydrated. So, because I'm just pouring with sweat, so I'm dehydrated. But I refuse to put a fan on, because it's like, no, I'm not going to ruin my audio. No way. I'd rather sweat. But now I'm not. I've been recording for 20 minutes or so, and yeah, everything's comfortable in here. It's nice, even with the projector and everything running. Speaking of which, you've got to buy a new bulb for that. Starting to flicker, and then you have to turn the power up on the bulb when it starts to die. I've got a lovely bright picture at the moment because I've turned the bulb up. Gotta get it replaced before it goes bang, otherwise it'll take the projector with it.
Let's not even think about that right now. That'd be luck, wouldn't it?
Currently, I said this to my wife last night. She said, "Shh, don't ever say that again." I was like, everything in this room as of today, last night, works. Projector works, the amplifiers work, the computer works. Everything in here works. That hasn't been the case since about 2006. Everything all at once is working. Brilliant. I'm pleased if this computer manages to do a full live stream and recording today. That said, I've already
Wait,
tested
since
it.
2006?
Something like that.
Oh my goodness, what a struggle. Are you at the finish line?
That's just the way of
Wow.
things. Got a lot of equipment. It's often not all working at the same time. It's just the way it goes. Anyway, hopefully we won't do this into next week. I said that yesterday in the live stream I did for members, just to test it yesterday. Everything went perfectly.
Yeah. Is it too early for jokes?
Nah, go ahead.
I wish I was funny, but I never knew that fixing a computer would require polishing the housing. I mean, you went through every, I don't know, wild circumstance when it came to diagnosing your troubles. And I find out just now that it's been since 2006 you've been going through this.
No. That's not what I meant at all.
What a struggle.
No. Since 2006, I've had all of the equipment that I've had. I mean, I haven't. I've had the speakers since 1999. I've been here forever. They're very, very old. But the system as a whole was put together in about 2006. And ever since then, there's always been one component that's not working. So it's either one channel's not working, or in this case, for the last 9 months, it's been the computer, or it'll be the projector, or it'll be another monitor, or something will be broken. And it's been just a long while since all of the equipment in the room actually all functions all at the same time.
So right now you're sitting in an operational Frankenstein's laboratory. Is what you're
Basically,
telling
yeah,
me.
you've got it.
That's
Everything's
awesome,
operational
dude.
and functional. All works.
Yeah. I'll tip my hat to you. That sounds great.
Yep. It'll be great for the next week while it stays that way. Till something explodes, as it always does.
Man, I feel inspired, Nathan.
I do. I feel inspired. It's a new day. Yesterday I wasn't capable of having a live show. Then my tech guy came out and spent a significant period of time measuring and checking and pulling blocks off computers and, digging into an extent that is just not necessary to find out why the problem was the way it was with this new GPU. The problem was because the manufacturer of this case has milled or machined a piece of aluminium to sit around a copper block, and it's a different height. So the bit that's touching the memory, not only is it touching two different materials, copper and aluminium, they're at different heights. So if you get the thermal pad correct to actually cover the majority of it, it stops the GPU touching the cooler plate. And if you get the thinner pad, you've only got a tiny bit of aluminium potentially touching, which is how it was yesterday. And only 1/3 of the chips are being cooled. So it required two different thicknesses of pads because it's two different thicknesses or two different heights of cooler, which is ludicrous. But there we go. That was the cause of the last week or two of trouble. But the last week of trouble is because I've changed a troublesome GPU that was giving us issues and eventually died. And now the one that's in there is a lot more efficient. The show will go on. Hopefully, this computer will not need anything for the next 2 to 3 years minimum. I hope that's the case. This could be the start of the computer being really good. Today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think so. But with sweat not pouring down my back and the computer not buzzing away with really loud fans stopping it from going over 100C, I couldn't be happier. Yeah, sat here. It's going to be a good show. I can feel it.
Like a pig in a blanket.
Yep.
A bug in a rug. That's awesome, dude.
I'll do what I did last time when I've done alterations to the show, which is I'll run the show for an hour, the live show that is, And then at the hour mark, I'll suggest that this is now the after show, even though I don't round it out just to keep the stress high. And then I'll just run a few games or something just to stress the computer, just to make absolutely certain that after a couple of hours of use, unlike yesterday's hour-long recording and live stream to the members, after a couple of hours use, it's still 100% stable. Then I'll be confident going into tomorrow, where I'll do the same again, just to make doubly certain. Like I say, then next week, Monday, actually focus on the show rather than on the hardware.
I was hoping they could put out an update that could cause a little software problem for you, but no, I might not get what I want.
Nah, there's no software issue. I mean, I think I've corrupted Windows in the process of continually crashing it. And as a consequence of that, Minecraft doesn't work. But that's the only real software problem that we've got. That's not really a problem. It's a problem for my eldest daughter. But that's about it.
Maybe they should pay you millions of dollars for a hardware solve.
Maybe I'll be sponsored by Intel in 5 years from now when everyone figures out the truth.
As when I was young and I was a gamer and I liked games a lot, right? It was important for me to play games. So I say it's important for you to get your daughter's Minecraft working, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's high on the priority list, I assure you. We've told her, I promise, I'll
Alright.
get it working. I tried today. I failed.
Nice. I mean, not nice to the failing, but nice to. Yeah. Okay.
Aw, we're bonding.
What do you reckon, people in G+? Do you like this? Do you like the new slides?
New slides.
New slides, yeah.
They're interesting. They're interesting. I was just thinking, because you have some of those models in there, I was thinking, oh, are people gonna say something about that or something? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's different. Let's say that.
Just stuff to pause when we've got a particular conversation point that matches one of the slides. So there are various different elevation angle measurement stuff, along with, you know, Australia looking like a chicken nugget. Know what I mean?
I suppose, but well, what if people come in and they see like the pizza pie going through the vacuum? Like, what are you thinking? Why do you have that in there? Or what was your intention of a discussion point for somebody seeing that image?
Stereotype, flat Earth image. No other reason.
Oh, okay, okay.
A lot of globe stuff in there too. You know what I mean? You could ask the same question about that.
Ah, true that, true that. Okay.
Actually, that's probably more of a globe claim with the flat Earth rising up through a sky vacuum.
Right.
That's more of a globe claim than a flat Earth claim.
You got this dude on the ISS with his sextant. Yeah, got some good slides in there, I think. It's not on the ISS, it's all a lie.
I heard Mr. Sensible say something about the horizon curving at altitude or something like that the other day. And I was thinking to myself, it's pointless now. It doesn't matter what the horizon does. It's not the curve of the Earth. Whatever that horizon's doing doesn't make it Earth curve.
Right. And he knows
Yeah, but
better.
they're not getting it.
No, they are getting it.
Sorry.
What they get is lots of money from repeating the same thing that they've had debunked. Now, in their mind, they know it's wrong. Mr. Sensible knows it's wrong, right? At best, you've debunked Earth's radius. What's that in response to? Black swan, that's what. So he knows better. We know he knows better. He knows better, more importantly. Share your pain. I've had lots of accounts recently of people rinsing and repeating stuff that they know has been debunked. Oh, okay. You can sleep at night knowing that you're putting out and peddling stuff that we've debunked and you've not overcome. Then more power to you. YouTube will keep paying you. And that's the only reason you're doing it. I hope the money Keeps you sleeping well.
So you're saying they do know?
Of
They're
course,
just getting paid.
I know
and they're
they
just
know.
lying to themselves.
Yep, I can demonstrate them being made aware, Neil. Mr. Sensible knows
Just
better.
because, hold on. Just because you're made aware doesn't mean you accept it. In the resources of your mind, you may still think that the horizon is Earth curve. I
Yeah.
see it all the time, every day.
Sure. And when we were in debate and discussion about the Isle of Man, there were various different points that I thought I was right about how I was proving Earth to be flat with an Earth curve calculator that assumed we've got Earth curve. You know, there was various points, but in the back of my mind, I knew it weren't the case. Right? Now, yeah, did I plod on like Mr. Sensible is? Yeah, I did, yeah. But knowing that I hadn't overcome some of the arguments that had put forth left me struggling to sleep occasionally, the stress of it all. Not anymore. Well, Mr. Sensible's in that boat, isn't he? He knows he's not overcome the issues of the Black Swan. He knows his response is quoted back to him at nausea. Well, if he wants to repeat the argument that the horizon represents a physical geometric sphere edge, known as Earth curve, then that's his bag. He can do what he likes. But what I say in response is, share your pain.
I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Brian, go ahead.
To say what he's referring to is his Mage 2 footage. And the problem with his Mage 2 footage is that it shows concave, or convex and concave and horizontal. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can pick one slide from a video that looks convex and then make a claim about it, while you're ignoring all the other slides that aren't convex. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is. It's like he must ignore, and so all his audience must ignore all the other slides that don't match that. It's just like when they go out and take photo or video of something years ago. They go out and they take photo and video of a location 20 times, and you never get to see the other 19. You only get to see the one they want you to see.
Well, but it doesn't matter anyway, because the horizon is not Earth curve.
Exactly.
But
exactly. That was John's
different.
point.
Yeah.
No matter what way he tries to dice it, no matter what way he tries to qualify his Texas sharpshooter fallacy by picking out one that's convex, who cares? The horizon isn't Earth curve. It's beyond the geometric limitations. We've only got to demonstrate it once. We've now got many black swans. Not that you need more than one. As long as you can show it's beyond the geometric assertion. That's it. It's not geometric. It's not Earth curve. He knows it. We know it. We know he knows it.
Then you got idiots like unorthodox coming in and saying, what about the other 364 days? Duh.
No, what Mr. Sensible is doing is he's moving away from the surface and going up as high as possible to make the claim. So that way, using this whatever amount of slides from his video that showed convex, that he can then claim that because they're up so high that it nullifies any over 6R. So they are then seeing a geometric location. Do you know what I mean? This is what they're trying to do. Forgetting that for years, boats were supposed to be going over this geometric place 3 miles away from shore, like.
Yeah, but if it's not Earth curve at a foot high, it's not a Earth curve at a mile high either.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's that. I mean, there's no point in telling me that. Do you know what I mean? Him and his audience and whoever else is doing the same thing. They're just begging the question from a high altitude and helping themselves to sleep at night, because that's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it does, though. I don't think it does help him sleep at night. I think completely the opposite is true.
So do I, but they think it will.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah, if I reaffirm my bias with something I know has been debunked in the back of my mind, that'll help, because more people will come in the comments and tell me how much Earth curve I'm showing from altitude. No, the horizon's not Earth curve. It doesn't make any difference what height you're showing it from. We've debunked the horizon as being a geometric limitation to your view at the stated mathematics of Earth curve. That's it. What you say, you negate atmosphere. Oh, that's lovely. How interesting. What you say, the horizon's Earth curve? No, it isn't. No, we debunked that with the black swan. What's that? At best, you've debunked the radius. What, that your assertion that the horizon's Earth curve's based on? That's right, Mr. Sensible. You know it. We know it. And we know you know it. So sleep well.
I can't believe he said that. The first time I heard that, I could not believe it. I said they don't even think things through.
No, they do. That's the problem. In that instance, he has thought it through, and the logical conclusion is that you debunk the radius based on the logical consistency of the argument. So when you say he hasn't thought it through, no, he has. That's the logical conclusion that you come to when faced with the black swan. He just verbalized it.
Okay, what about the implications that it has? What about all the star rotation that we see? That's supposed to be right with the 3959. Everything's supposed to be like tied into that, right?
It's the
So that
latitude
don't
and
matter
longitude
anymore?
grid. No, it's the latitude and longitude grid. Everything they do, if you look at what they do with the latitude and longitude grid, that's
Right.
based off of the GP point of Polaris and any other coordinates on that grid, right? Whether it be another GP point or any coordinates where you live now, anything, is all based on that's your coordinates in reference to the GP point of Polaris. That's what the latitude and longitude grid is. It's not, and this is another thing about the Gleason's map, it's not about the sun. It shows, let's just say, the tropics and it shows the equator. But that's only because they are parallels of latitude. But that is a begging the question, fallacy, because you're believing the sun is definitely taking this path, as opposed to that is the general area that the sun will appear to be seen over at that time of year, blah, blah, blah. But it's not based on the sun. So what they do is they wrap that around the globe. They make a globe out of it. That's what they did. They didn't wrap it around the globe. They made the globe out of that, back engineered it from flat earth elevation angles to Polaris. They back engineered it into a globe, and then they make the claim about the tropics and the equator, trying to say that their angles match the sunrise and sunset, when they don't. As we know, time and date is often wrong. But that's what time and date and all them are based off of. They're based off of the mathematics for when the sun should rise and set and blah, blah, blah. It's all based off of the pre-assumption that those circles that are on of latitude are on the latitude and longitude grid are the actual sun path. When there's no evidence of that, they are based off of Polaris, not the sun. And this is what they do. It's a switcheroo. So people think the sun must be taking a circular path because the parallel of latitude is a circle. It's like, no, it's not. That's not what they're based off of.
So all that time we said that we're wrong.
No, I mean, the sun will be over the tropics and over the equator, right? They'll appear to be from our point of view, let's say, right, at the correct times of year. But the problem is that doesn't denote that the sun is taking an exact circle, or that there's only one sun, we don't know. I don't know what the sun is. Do you know what I mean? The latitude and longitude grid is just purely a terrestrial. It's a terrestrial grid based off the celestials, but in particular, it's based off of Polaris.
All right, let me make the question easy, Brian. Hold on.
Go on.
Say the radius of Earth was 7969. So everything we see in the sky doesn't have to match that?
No. Everything they say.
Well, then we got to retract a lot of things we said from 8 months ago. Then.
No. Everything we see in the sky, they say, is based on a globe because they hijack the latitude and longitude grid. Because the latitude and longitude grid gives the GP, allows you to determine a GP point of a celestial body, blah, blah, blah. But that's what they did. They just hijacked that and the sidereal movement of the stars. The only thing that's not moving in the sky is Polaris.
Maybe I'm not asking the question.
Well, if you're on a boat with a sextant, why a marine sextant? Why do you use the horizon?
I'm not saying that's what it is. We know what it is.
I don't think you're listening.
But I'm saying when they derived this globe, right? Isn't it supposed to? Don't they have it tied in with the sky and the stars and everything like that? So for them to just say it's it could be bigger than 3959.
You can't. Because it's tied into the latitude and longitude grid, so they can't say that. That's the point.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They can't say that. That's why I said they didn't think it through.
Oh, they did think it through. That's the thing. They did think it through when they were back engineering. They did think it through.
No, I'm talking about when Mr. Sensible said that.
No, that's just a lack of understanding. You're right. He didn't think it through, but that's a lack of understanding. That's his lack of understanding of his own model. So you're right. It is. He doesn't give his own model thought. People, flat earthers do it as well, but they don't learn enough about the heliocentric model. They don't realize that it can't be even 1 foot bigger or smaller than it's planned to be.
Thank you.
So when QE does the black swan, the motorolens, and he says, so the Earth is not a globe at the end. He doesn't give a size to the globe. A lot of people attack them on that, and still do because they're not listening. They attack him on that and say, no, his logic is wrong, right? Because it could be a bigger one or a smaller one. It's like, no, you don't understand
not thinking it
the globe. Yeah, they're not taking it through. So they think he's after using faulty logic when it's them and their lack of logic and thinking and going through the process. That if they did go through, that a process that if they did go through, they'd realize, oh, hang on, I'm wrong, QE is right. They don't realize, well, he just has to say at the end, so it's not a globe. That's all he has to say at the end of that modus tollens. He doesn't have to say of radius 3959 miles, because it can't be anything else other than 3959 miles. Based on, yeah, go on, sorry, John.
Oh, I was going to say, you could just concede that point to them and say, you know what, you can have your inflatable radius below surface level. What do you got?
Well, it's more people on our own side that are attacking QE on that. When I say our own side, people who are not on the globe side, that attack QE on that. It's more people, because the people on the opposing side, they say, oh, he didn't account for refraction, totally not understanding. You know what I mean? How they're just trying their own claims with that. But there's people on our own side who are attacking him, saying it was not logically formatted right. And it's because they don't have an understanding and they didn't put in the little bit of research or the little bit of logic of thought as to why he doesn't have to say a globe of radius 3959 miles at the end. He doesn't need to say that at the end, because if it's not matching 3959, it's not matching a globe, because the globe can't be anything but 3959. That's right. It's over.
And with that,
well, I understand that, but like the arguments or I want to say argument, but the topics like progressed past that point now. We know, that how the math works. We understand everything that they don't pretty much at this point. So even if we did observe a horizon at 1.22 mile times the observer square in height, right? Even if we observe that, the horizon is not below surface level. So
what? Yeah,
they don't have anything.
No, that's true.
Dear.
No, your point is devastating, but it's actually worse than that, because if we did from a 1 foot observer height observe an horizon that was 1.225 times the square root of that observer's height in feet, which would be a 1.22 or 1.22 mile away horizon from a 1 foot observer height, that also debunks the globe now, because they have to claim that it can't be that. Because that would mean a no atmo day, which would mean we're living in a vacuum, which means everyone would die. Do you know what I mean? So even if we, at this stage, even if there was an horizon that matched their maths, that would debunk their globe.
But it's not relevant. I mean, you are correct. However, it's not relevant because the claim in modus tollens is a geometric assertion being taken apart. So as soon as you say atmosphere, it's like, hello, we're taking apart your claim of geometric Earth curve. Well, that's geometric in its nature, in your maths. That's how it's all derived.
Yes.
It's how it's been measured. So you can't start talking about atmosphere when we're taking apart your geometry, because that's a measurement. If you're going to say atmosphere, well, what are you measuring? Is it the atmosphere that you're claiming blocks boats and buildings? Of course not. You're claiming earth curve. A hill physically blocks it, and you're claiming to have measurements to it. The moment you say, well, it's refraction, so you don't have measurements to it. It's not geometric. The horizon isn't earth curve. Okay, then. It's just taken some of them 3 years to start recognizing the fact that the horizon's not earth curve then, if you're saying refraction. Hello? How long does it take them?
Yeah, but there's something you're missing there. I go after you, John. Yeah, you're after missing the point there, Nathan. Go on, John.
Right. But even if the horizon did appear at 1.22 times the observer's height in feet away from you, and it conformed to that geometry every time you observed it, it is still not below surface level, because the horizon is where surface level meets the sky. It will never conform to that geometry. They don't understand how their math works.
Right. Their math shows marked with an X, labelled horizon, geometrically below the surface level that's integral. Level, flat, surface level. That's integral to their geometric assertion. So while they may label the horizon below surface level, that's simply incorrect. You can't have a horizon below surface level. John's absolutely correct. That's always going to be the overriding point. You commented in one of the videos I trimmed out in regards to the Lake Pontchartrain black swan, or black swans, and in that video you said, well, based on the fact that it's a differential calculation and the horizon marked with an X is below surface level, they're all black swans. You're never going to get, if you actually accurately measure the horizon, it's never going to actually be in the position that it's labelled in geometric terms for Earth curve on their spherical basis, because it's always going to be below surface level. John's point is the most pertinent. It's the most... Go on.
Yeah, you're missing something I'm trying to say to you, though. John's point is backed up by, let's just say, the dip correction, right? Because that requires the water at the horizon to be in a horizontal with the water underneath the boat, proving that sea level is horizontal, right? Because it has to be for that process to happen. Otherwise, there can't be a 90, right? But my point is similar to John's, but separated from John's. I'm not saying John is right or wrong. I'm not saying John is wrong. He's 100% correct. And I'm 100% behind him, and I'm not arguing even remotely with him. What I'm saying is that because they must claim that every horizon must be more or greater than what their geometric maths say, due to the fact that atmospheric standard and terrestrial refraction exists, was what their claim is, right? Now that, besides the fact that debunks them, right, immediately, right, if we did see an horizon that matched their maths, their geometric maths, and we're all still breathing, then that also debunks them. Because the only way they say that can happen is no atmo day, let's just say. That would mean no air day. That would mean we all live in a vacuum, we all die. So if we ever even came across that, if there was ever an image or proof of an horizon that matches their maths, that debunks them also, because we're breathing. Because for that to happen within what their claims, that can only happen if there is no air. Do you understand what I mean?
Right, but that can never happen. You'll never see a horizon below surface level, ever. But I can guarantee you.
Yeah, but we're talking about a distance to an horizon. It's not about whether it's curved or horizontal. It's a distance. If we see, if there's a demarcation point that proves that an horizon is exactly what their geometry states in some video they come up with, they don't realize that will also debunk them, because the only way that can happen within their model is that for us all to be living in a vacuum. So either way, they can, no matter what they present, they're debunked.
Right. If you give them a tacit acceptance that you can have a horizon below surface level, you could argue that point. Yes.
I don't even have to deal with the surface level, whether it's curved or horizontal.
No. No. As I said earlier, John's point will always take precedent. It will always come first, because first and foremost, the horizon you're detailing, no atmo or otherwise, exists in the maths below surface level. That means John's point will always come first. Sorry, I could hear the corners of his mouth turning up while he said it too.
Point. You think I'm opposing John's point?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
I'm not
saying
opposing
that.
John's point.
Listen to what he said. He said if you give them a tacit acceptance that the horizon's below surface level, you can then argue about atmo. Now he's not decrying your point. He's not disagreeing with you either. He's saying that
I don't think any of you are getting it.
We are getting it.
I know
totally get what you're saying.
Say it. Tell me.
Saying they've got to have no atmosphere. We've got to be in a vacuum in order for them to start asserting the physical geometry. We don't exist in a vacuum. So their point's always going to be hindered by the fact that they've got 7/6 terrestrial refraction. That's your point, right?
No. My point is that if they ever even came up with an observation that matches a distance to the horizon that they need it to be, they can't even use that within a claim. They can't even use it then, because that would mean, because it's debunked by the fact we're breathing. Because the only way that's possible within their claims is that if we're not breathing, if we're in a vacuum.
Yeah.
That's the only way they. Yeah. So
the only way to measure. Okay.
An image.
To summarise it differently, the only way to measure the geometry would be if it was in a no atmo circumstance. Yeah, but in order to do that, in a no atmo circumstance, you have to, what did you say, give them a tacit acceptance, John? That what we are looking for exists below what is described in their geometry and is required for their geometry to be a flat and level surface, that this horizon is marked below. And you can't get around that. Atmo or no atmo, or, the ability to see below surface levels, always going to take precedent. That's all we're saying. We're not disagreeing with you. You're right.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm not even dealing with below surface level. I don't have.
I know. The crosswire comes because both circumstances are self-contained. Your description of what you're overcoming is a globehead's idea of what the maths gets reified into when they look at a picture or at the horizon with their eyeballs. In reality, the two are not the same thing. The maths is entirely separate from physical reality. And in the maths, what you are describing they would see with or without atmosphere exists in the maths below surface level, because it's not representative of reality. Now that's an example where it's not comporting with reality, because you can't see a horizon below surface level. But they would say, well, no, the horizon below surface level, just to keep the example going, is visible in its geometric limitations on these perfect weather conditions. For example, response. Two ways you can take that. No, you'd have to be in a vacuum in order to measure the geometry and have it comport with your geometric maths when you look at a horizon that's below surface level. So it's always going to take precedent, is our point. Yeah. You're not picking up on that because it's...
No, I understand that point implicitly. I understood it immediately. I understood it the minute it was said, whenever a year or whatever it was. I've made videos that show I understand it. I don't even know if me and John were saying it at the same time. Now, I gave it to John because John said it the most, so I'm not going to try and take it away from him. But my point is that even if they did come up with an horizon distance that matches their geometry, they still can't use it because they'll be breathing. Do you understand? No horizon is any good to them.
I got you, Brian. I got you.
Yeah, if it was Anthony, though, when I used to yell at Anthony because I was a lot hotter about not begging the question, that's where John said, if you give them a tacit acceptance that there is a geometric horizon to be measured with or without atmosphere below surface level, you're essentially allowing them to have their begging the question fallacy of a horizon below surface level.
I see. Sorry. I see what John's saying now. I got you. Yeah.
No, you're not saying what I'm saying. I know you're not.
Oh, I am seeing what you're saying.
Nathan just said.
No, you're not.
Oh, I am.
Saying it.
Oh, I am. I have empathy.
Okay,
I can
then.
see what you see.
No, you're not. You think I'm begging the question. I'm pointing out a very pertinent thing that you think is begging the question. I'm not begging the question at all.
I'm saying I'm lazy, and in order to get into the wrangle-dangle of what a geometric horizon is, you ultimately must be begging the question that you can't deny. You can't say, well, you're just saying I'm begging the question. No, I'm not decrying your point either. when people are critical in this instance, it's not because we don't agree with the argument that you're putting forth or with that we don't understand it, Brian. It's just that there are shortcuts that John in this instance is going to highlight on top of it because this is maybe the words I'm getting you to take umbrage with, takes precedent. And that's the only way I can phrase it. It's a quicker route to the end of the argument. There's no other way. And Anthony used to do this too, because he wanted to say, no, when you consider Earth to be a sphere and you examine this aspect of it, it doesn't function correctly. And I go, I don't consider Earth to be a sphere to go through the processes of figuring out where the horizon would or wouldn't be in a no atmo day, because it's taking you to give him the, quote, tacit acceptance to get to that argumentation point. It doesn't mean I think you're wrong or I think it's the wrong way to go about it. You've got to understand it from an audience point of view. I'm glad you're doing it, Brian. That's what I'm getting. Because
So what are you saying, Brian?
I'm trying to conclude. If I wasn't being interrupted, I'd be concluding. Telling you what I'm saying, Neil. Right. What I'm saying is, you will still get into that wrangle-dangle. Regardless of chopping the legs off the Black Knight, the Black Knight will still fight back with atmospheric anomalies that allow you to see geometry in their mind's eye of their argument for Brian to come back at them with. And if you don't have that to come back at them with, that will be, to the audience, seemingly the end of their argument and they've won, right, Brian? You've got to know this stuff.
Yeah, but let's say, whereas Wally approaches me with a video that has an horizon that matches their maths, right? A distance to an horizon that matches their maths, right? And I ask him, were you breathing when you got that observation? Yeah. Well, that debunks you then.
Well,
My point is...
That's the point.
No,
It's not fair math. It's flat Earth math. That's the point, though, isn't it?
Well, the point is no horizons now.
They're using two flat planes to come up with this idea that they have curvature. It's our math. What are they doing using flat Earth math?
Yes, but my point is outside of that. My point is, no matter what horizon they approach you with, none of them are any good to them now. Even one that would match their geometry. Because if it's matching their geometry and they were breathing, there's the Bongstar model.
What model? What geometry? They're using flat Earth geometry and flat Earth models.
Yeah, I know that. You're missing. I think you're missing the subtleties of the point.
Let's get it on.
Good afternoon.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Welcome.
Ciao.
Neil said, I'm in the motherland, Neil. I'm in the motherland for you.
All right, don't get
I
your
knew it.
flashbacks.
Once
No
you
one's
said
going to
mon-
arrest you, Adam.
once
It's all
you-
good.
Once you said buongiorno, I knew where you were.
Right. So we are now functioning, hopefully fully functioning, on Beast 2.0. This is the new updated Flat Earth debate computer, which will hopefully be nice and stable and cool for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer. We shall see. If this computer fails on its ass in this next couple of days testing, we will know. But we are back after a few days off with a computer tech guy coming back and forth into this house, flat as the case may be, to make this computer rock and roll so I can ask these following questions that are extremely important that you all share so that everybody can hear about physical geometric sphere edge horizons formerly known as Earth curve. Any evidence thereof?
Negative.
No, but just to come to the housekeeping question, the past week or so, I think the nonsense that we've been dealing with really highlights how powerful these housekeeping questions are, and how they're more relevant than worrying about ether or upward moving Earth. They're the ones that take the ball apart. I know we can have fun guessing the nature of reality, but these housekeeping questions are the one that got us here, and they're the ones that will keep continuing to destroy the ball, because as you'll see, they're unanswerable from a ball perspective. Rant over. But
any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Can I give an answer to the last question?
Yeah, go ahead if you want to.
There can't be evidence of Earth curve, because even if they got a measurement that fit their globe, they'd have to be breeding on that day to do that, which would not fit our globe and our model.
Right on.
So no matter what they come up with, they can't.
Gas pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is it? No Atmo Day?
It would have to be within their claims for them to get the measurement that fits their globe. So even if they did come up with it, that also debunks them because they'll have to be breeding to do that.
True. But any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
I still haven't heard back from Neil deGrasse Tyson, so I would say no.
He's an astronomer as opposed to a navigator, though, isn't he? I mean, he's not going to know how people use a sextant to...
I don't care. It's a question he
irrelevant.
needs to answer.
Well,
Right.
no, that's irrelevant because they use a horizontal plane in orbital mechanics. Same problem that they have in celestial navigation as well.
When you say they use a flat plane in orbital mechanics, pray tell, if you're suggesting that Kepler, with his orbital mechanics, has actually got a flat Earth at its heart, I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff, John. I mean, that's news to me.
Well, they use a plane of reference with the apogee and perigee, all those things that, you know, that
Let's
they
start
use in
there.
the celestial sphere model.
Stop. Apogee and perigee? I've never heard of such things. What are you speaking of?
Well, it's angles from a point on a plane to a celestial object.
And what plane would that be?
No, if you and that's if you imagine orbits and describe the nearest and distant positions you observe the celestial object, and then I say assume orbits, you can describe those two extremities as perigee and apogee of an orbit.
Off of a flat plane, yes.
Yeah, from a flat. Yeah, they're measured from a flat plane and assumed that the angles you've taken are commensurate with an orbit. And if you do that, you can describe those extremities as apogee and perigee.
And John, wouldn't all the other let's just say so-called planets also have to be everything they calculate would also have to be calculated from a flat plane at the center of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they call it a plane of reference in the mathematics.
Yeah. What about the sun? Would that have to have their sun? Would that have to have a flat plane for their measure?
Speaking of which, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, that's how they get their angle primarily to begin with before they introduce a radius value.
Hold on, angle to the sun's not going to give you distance. Angle's not actual size or not actual anything because it's not giving you a physical distance measurement. So if you're saying it's all about the angle, that's not giving me an answer to my question. 50 people watching, please share the show. Smash that share button. Shout out to Sensual Goat for smashing the super chat. Just one sec, John. We'll come back to you. It says, notorious anti-flat earther, Planner Walk, has recently come out as trans. Hopefully he will encourage others to have the courage to follow their destiny. Okay, I mean, not really on topic for us, but sure. Good luck to you, Planner Walk. You're a very brave man or woman or whatever you go by now.
I didn't bring it up.
Good morning, guys.
Don't care. Couldn't care less about his identifiers. No offence to you, Sensual Goat. It's not relevant to us. We're only interested in what he claims about the nature of Earth. He's a sphere believer, so that would be the only thing that we care about. I know others have got a thing about whether or not people overtly claim their sexuality in their pronouns. I don't care. Does anybody else on the panel care particularly?
Not within this subject, no. In other situations, yeah, but not within this subject.
Yeah, we've got no...
that from a year ago.
There's no real prejudice here. We don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, trans, lesbian, gay, straight. If you're talking crap about the globe, we'll point out how the crap you're talking is crap, regardless of what your sexuality is or your skin colour. We don't care. You know, just present evidence for your stupid nonsense that you're on a sphere and we'll be good. And if you present nonsense in lieu of a sphere Earth evidence, then you're going to have that taken apart. But your skin colour or your nationality or your sexuality is irrelevant to that. Literally, completely, totally irrelevant.
Even if you're a flat earther.
The proof of that is that Adam is on the panel.
Yes, we've got a black transgender lesbian on the panel right now, and nobody's got any issue with him whatsoever, have they?
Yeah, we thought. Yeah, exactly. And we accepted Anthony was also from Liverpool.
I'm a transfemale
I won't go
lesbian
that
who
far,
presents as
Brian.
male.
No need.
Yeah, especially
We're
when
not
you're
lying
Irish.
here, Brian.
I mean,
Uh-oh.
what sort of standard is that from an Irishman?
Get him, Irish.
Anyway, let's
I've got
move
to
on.
admit, I'm a little globe-phobic, though.
Globe-phobic.
I'm globe-phobic, yeah.
So you're contradicting yourself then.
Well, is heliocentrism a protected group? Because LGBTQ are a protected group, but globe belief isn't, as far as I'm aware.
Heliocentrism are the most protected group in the world.
Scientology, maybe, as a religion, because they're registered, but heliocentrism, how is that a protected group?
It's not. It's constantly being protected by movies.
That's not what I said.
Yeah.
Protected group is a specific categorization for things like people at risk in small communities like LGBTQ. Well, they are categorized specifically as a protected group. Therefore, were you to attack them based on their LGBTQ nature, the punishments are more severe because of your attacking a protected group. Now, you're saying they are protected. Oh, no, yeah, I completely agree with that. You know, the anti-flat earth movement is propped up based on flat earth searches at the moment. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, unlike Scientology, which is a literal registered religion, heliocentrism, which is at the heart of Scientology, has none of that. What is it that makes it a officially protected group? I don't think it is. It's not classed as a religion. It can't be. If you're just saying, well, that's just how the world is, why would you? It would seem weak to register it as a protected group or a religion or something of that nature if you're trying to convey it as just the way it is. It wouldn't need it, and if you show that it does need it, well, why does it need it? Why do you need to protect this if it's just the way it is? So I don't believe it is, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I would say it's the most protected group in the world because they.
I agree. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. Yes, it is, in quotes, the most protected group, but in terminology, in terms of Western world culture and what we call a, quote, protected group, heliocentrists aren't a protected group. You're just not picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, but if they call them, if they said that they were a protected group, then that takes away their validity.
Exactly.
If they don't have any.
Yes.
So they have to, do you know what I mean? So they can't say they're a protected group, but they have to constantly protect them.
Precisely.
I was just going to say that.
Finally, yes.
I was just going
I
was just going to say they're the most protected group without mentioning out loud that they are.
Yeah.
I don't think we should have ventured into this topic because now, like, there's a ipso facto claim that protected groups aren't valid now.
No, there is not.
Move away from this.
Hold on. I don't mind getting onto that. I know it's off housekeeping, but how would anything that we just inferred suggest that a protected group doesn't warrant their protection? I don't get what you would infer that.
If heliocentrism claimed a protected group, they would be it would invalidate them, right?
Exactly.
So if you're a protected group, you're invalid.
No, I'm saying that you're subject to prejudice because you're an individual group that can be categorized as such, but you can't categorize what is considered to be reality as a group and then protect that group. There's no need, and it would weaken the position that it is just reality if you categorized it as a group that needed protection. That doesn't invalidate the protection that may or may not be required for any other individual group, in my humble opinion.
Well,
But
let me
I
throw this at
understand.
you. Sorry.
I'm just saying that we're dancing a dangerous line for no reason. It's a red herring at best.
Agreed.
Well,
Can I point out the irony though? Because I mean, this is normally not on topic for us, but it was brought up. So look how what's his name? Planet Walk came out and said, yeah, he's a woman. Okay, that's awesome. And he gets all these Globers to back him up and say, yeah, we cheer you on and you should be free to be who you are, and that's what's up. Okay, great. You should be free to be who you are. Okay. Here's a bunch of people who just don't think they live on a magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum. Get rid of them, burn them, don't reproduce, kill yourselves. I mean, you see how ridiculous that is?
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. We're not a protected group. You know, I can also shout across the street at gingers and laugh at them.
Neither are Italians.
Well,
We provide the protection.
Yeah, about that. I'll pay you later, Neil. It's in the till.
The point I would make is if we go back 3 years ago and we look at the past 3 years now without making any talk about the subject, there was a whole lot of protection going on for stuff that wasn't scientifically valid. Now, the globe, right, although it's not science, right, all these things that they try to protect in these groups, they try to protect constantly. In a lot of ways, they come back to, with the exception of a few, they come back to a heliocentric mindset. If you look at what is being protected, a lot of it comes back to a heliocentric mindset where nothing really matters, a nihilistic type mindset.
Yep.
Where, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. If everything's a soup of nothingness and you are an insignificant speck of dust whirling around in that ever-expanding soup of nothingness, then what does it matter? What significance does it have? You might as well just be a con artist and a cheat and a thief, because what does it all matter? Now, those were some of the things that I contemplated. Fortunately for me, I'd already faced my demons before I found Flat Earth, because suddenly you appreciate that there's only one real outcome to what we've discovered, which is to say that the ontological primitives, that's where you end up. And you go, okay, so there is some purpose to where we are and what we're doing, and there must have been an external force that created it all. That means that there are potential consequences to your actions. You can't just stuff those demons into the closet and never worry about them again. And upon finding out that there may be, in fact, a creator, you might have to, heaven forbid, face your own demons. And a lot of the people we oppose, and oppose us, don't want to do that. The skeletons in their closets are too scary for their own good. So they don't want to open the door to their own scary closet with their own scary skeletons in them. And they might have to face them if they suddenly contemplated the awful reality that they see Flat Earth to be, rather than suppressing us and telling us not to breed and drink bleach and jump off buildings to prove gravity.
Wait, are you saying that we are not like primordial fish, frog, swamp soup that got hit by lightning and got real sentient? Is that not what we are?
No.
Monkey, fish, frogs. What?
the primordial soup that we were all before lightning struck and gave us life. Arwen, you don't know about that?
I do. Almost 70 people watching. Please share the show. Massive thank you to all of you who's smashed the share button already. It's probably why we're creeping up to 70 people already. So please share the show if you haven't done so already. Also, shout out to Iron26. You smashed the sharing of gift button. I don't know what that is, but he's done it and he shared memberships with people. So thank you very much for doing so. Really appreciate it.
Nathan, if you're looking for a video to review, I can give you a Dave McKeegan video.
If you like. Do you want to post it in Master
It's
B?
up to you. I don't mind it. If you don't want to review it, I don't.
No, I don't mind. It's been a while. I don't like doing them one after the other, but fine. If you want to cover Dave McKeegan, if it's something specifically important.
Well, it's not so much I want it. It's just a video I posted recently I haven't even watched it. I posted recently in Master B. I was laughing at something.
Is it the one that's called "Why There Are No Flat Earth Surveyors"? Is that one, or is it another one? Because I saw that one pop up.
Well, that's right up your street, Brian. So yeah, I can lean on you a little bit.
Out.
That sounds good. If you can dig out the link, I'll ask another couple of housekeeping questions while you post it to Master B. But that's right up your alley, so I'll lean on you, Brian, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
You dig it out.
I thought the title was kind of... Sorry, Nathan.
No, I was just going to ask another housekeeping question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I thought the title was kind of funny, being that he was the one talking about flat baselines in his last video, in address to us. The title of that was quite ironic.
It'll be Dave McKeegan rides again and proving a flat Earth, whilst postulating whether or not we have flat Earth surveyors. I mean, I'm sure John will pipe up as well during this presentation, but I'll lean on you two for the reasons I disclosed in the pre-show. But yeah, so we'll get to it in a minute. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Don't all go at once.
No, there can't be.
Nobody in Discord got proof of that. Scientific proof of that. Whatever that is.
What's the phenomenon first?
Well,
Well,
Brian's figuring
that's
it
a
out,
good
right?
example of the protection, isn't it? Yeah.
Say again, Adam.
So just saying that's a good example of the protected state of heliocentrism with regards to is there any scientific evidence? That's the thing that's protected. The belief that there is scientific evidence. That's where you'll get attacked, ridiculed if you challenge things. That's where it's protection. Not that it's real. Well, it's got any scientific evidence to back it up, but you'll be the one that's ridiculed, your worldview attacked because you dare to question that protection that it's given.
Yep. I mean, you even got people in the mainstream who will claim they are science, and criticizing them is criticizing science. It's incredible.
This is something that I'm hoping to appeal to Jaron on. We've had our battles over science. He's called us scammers. However, this is something where a better understanding and a better knowledge of what science is would result in Jaron being a more formidable opponent for globe believers. That understanding of where science has been hijacked and, as Adam puts it, protected. The pseudoscience claims of non-scientists are what is protected. Right, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. They're allowed to present. Now look at Brian Cox. Look at what he presents to you. Yeah, and you can't challenge that that's not science. You'd be attacked and ridiculed, not based on the content of your critique, but what you're attacking.
80 people watching. Please share the show. Smash that share button.
So Nathan, why don't you call him in for a little meeting, get together with Jaron, and try to break it down for him. Let him know you got a bigger audience, and aren't we in this together, and see what you get.
I can only appeal to my own audience, you know. In that regard, I can keep doing what we do. I've suggested to QE that we have a Ballbusters that's got a scientific focus again. But I want to preface when we're doing it to say, no, I want to appeal to someone on our own side who I want better things for in terms of their ability to take apart a scientific claim from the globe side. And that's something we've been focused on for 5, 6, maybe even more years. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't try and impart that onto our friends, which is what we're going to consider Jaron in this scenario.
I made a proposition. Sorry, John, I'll go after you. Go on.
I was going to say, but, you know, setting the feast of nonsense, putting that stuff out on the table, gets you jacked up in the algorithm. So how are you going to sell that to someone who's being boosted in the algorithm because of that thing?
I don't know. I just know what's right, and, you know, strives within the algorithm have to come second to a person that's in the community and considered highly having a misapprehension about what science is and isn't. And a minor tweak to their language from science has lied to me to pseudoscience has hijacked science to lie to me, which is what's actually happened. Now, the more times we can reiterate that, with Jaron's name being mentioned as we do so, you would hope that the message would eventually, via osmosis, through the people who listen, whatever means, make its way to Jaron and hopefully have a positive effect. That's what I'm hoping for.
Which to me is the crazy part. Sorry, Brian. I was just gonna say real quick, just because that to me that's the crazy part, right? Because I remember Jaron used to very much focus on the difference between science and what before we started using the name of it, the actual name pseudoscience, they would call it scientism, which is pretty much the same shit, right? And he would focus on that. So this is where I don't understand what happened, like how it went down this route. It's a little crazy to me, but whatever.
I propose to QE. I don't know if he's going to respond to it. last night that we should do a ball buster show purely on every topic within the Feast of Nonsense and go through each topic, ice walls, upward moving earth, all this kind of stuff. Go through each topic, and show it for what it is. The history of it and all this kind of stuff. So there's something then, a show, a presentation that can be presented to somebody and go, this is the Feast of Nonsense. Stay away from this Feast of Nonsense. This is what's out there to fool you. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be a good ball busters. I think so.
I'd hesitate to say stay away from it.
I know it.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can't. I mean, you really can't tell people what to get involved in or not, right? But recognizing when it's just that, the Feast of Nonsense, like we call it, and the actual empirical nature of what flat Earth is, I think just recognizing that difference is important. But I wouldn't tell somebody to stay away from, whatever they want to get into, mountains or melted buildings and upward.
Well, that's something else I was going to mention, because it is negative, right? What you're saying is you don't want to get into the nonsense that they spew. Fine. Well, I do. I mean, we are talking about the nature of our world, and when people postulate things about Antiquitech or stuff like that, well, we are going to still want to pull it apart. That's what we do here. But I want to do that in a way that the person who's having it done doesn't suddenly turn around and call us scammers or tell their audience to unsubscribe from us, and vice versa. In other words, where our opponents claim illegitimately to be having a cordial discussion, I want to have that actually in effect when we disagree with other people on our own side, where we can genuinely cross-promote within the tiny little pond that we find ourselves in, rather than pulling ourselves apart. Now, this is the main criticism that I get whenever we're critical of someone like Jaron, for example. I've seen his quote go by in the chat. I don't know if it's still on there. I'll bring it up and see if it's still there by the person who quoted him.
You don't think Adam was cordial the other day? You don't think Chewie was cordial with Rachel the other day? I thought they were.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is, at the end of that process, I just quote Jaron, I told Nathan, science doesn't prove anything, end quote. Right, we want to change that attitude by disseminating the facts of how science does prove things, and therefore why it's been used in name only to claim they've got proof of things they haven't got scientific evidence for, when they just say science, making it by definition pseudoscience, a claim where the scientific method's not been applied to something suggested as science. That's what pseudoscience is. So, like I say, this is a very subtle change that Jaron would have to make. But upon doing so, he then highlights and exposes the lack of science in people's claims of science, rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway, I've kind of lost track.
My point about the Ballbuster show involving the Feast of Nonsense is not to name names. Don't point fingers and name names, because then all you're doing is creating a division. Just point out, just go through each topic and point out why it's ridiculous. Like the debunkings of it, or these kind of things, why it's ridiculous, and why this stuff is dangerous, and how it doesn't help us.
Michael Finmorley was brought up the other day by that guy Johnny.
Or if you don't want to offend people off right, you could just say, well, we could talk about what evidence there is for it and what evidence there isn't for it, right? Instead of just saying why it's just ridiculous, because there are people that want to get into it and just saying offhand it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's what we're going to be also presenting. Why? Yeah, but when we present the topic, let's just say we go to ice wall, right, and we talk about the ice wall. We can't say that there isn't an ice wall, but we need to go through why it's ridiculous to make that as a claim and where that puts you, what position it puts you in the if you're against an anti-flat earther, or if you're dealing with someone of the general public, and how they can put you in a position where you end up having to try to prove something that you are not in a position to prove. Things like that. It's like, show why it's troublesome. Show why why something is troublesome, or why it's ridiculous, or why it's not a good claim to make. That's what the Feast of Nonsense is. It just leads you into a heap of rubbish.
So everybody, you just want to teach people how to debate properly.
No, it's not all about debate. It's not all about debate. It's about pointing out why these things are bad debating points, or why something is ridiculous. Or why something is debunked. Why there isn't. Like, go through each topic. It's like if we keep on saying the Feast of Nonsense, then we're not defining what those things are. We need to group all those things together and do a whole Ballbusters hosted by QE presentation on each one of those things, what they are, and why they are troublesome, either to the argument or they're just purely ridiculous because they don't help us publicly. They don't help anything. You know,
It's a great idea.
history.
Right, sorry to interrupt you guys.
Yeah.
So just going to shout out, just about to hit 100 people watching, so 99 people currently watching. Massive shout out to all of you who've shared the show and got us up to 100 people watching on this first live show back after a small gap. So really appreciate it. If you have just joined us, thank you very much for clicking on the link that you got shared. Please do the same and share the show out on Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, big shout out to all of you who've just joined us. Please share the show. Okay, with that in mind, in the same way that we do this for Globers, and it was nice to do it in a positive manner on the last show for Mitchell from Australia, the same applies when I'm talking about Jaren, in the respect that we tend to condemn each other rather than, as we're doing now for Dave McKeegan, who is technically the enemy, promoting his stuff. You know, I'm sticking a link to his YouTube channel and his video and suggesting that people go and help him in the algorithm by commenting on his video and saying, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, which is only something positive in terms of Dave McKeegan's view count and whatever, you know. Why isn't it letting me paste? Sorry, I'm just figuring out why it won't let me paste this link. Let's just try that once more. Highlighting it. Anyway, so yeah, let Dave McKeegan know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully, if I can get this link to ever work. I don't know why I'm having an issue copying it. It says it's copied to the clipboard. Doesn't seem to let me want to do it. Maybe if someone from the moderator team can check me out, moderator team can link it. Let's just try it. Ah, there we go, paste. So there's a link going by to Dave McKeegan's video. And as I just said, if you can let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and just make him aware that we've responded to his video about why are there no flat earth surveyors, which is the name of his video. So yeah, check it out. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Now, I'm going to lean on Brian. Typically, I'd just say I don't know much about this video, but I'll respond as I see fit. But this is Brian's suggestion because it's right up his alley. You know, he's second only to 10th Man, who, let's be honest, is much better than Brian. But, you know, we'll make do with Brian for today. And
when
yeah.
it comes to surveying,
I was just pulling your leg.
Before you even start the video, the title of the video is completely fraudulent. Because I've spoken with several people who are surveyors and provably surveyors, and I can name two people who are well-known people, which is Chris Van Matry and Rodney B, who were surveyors. Who are I think Chris Van Matry is retired, but Rodney B is still working, and they were in around the circuit for years. So to say that there was no flat earth, why there was no flat earth surveyors, is a completely fraudulent beginning to his video, because it's completely wrong.
How are there no flat earth surveyors when the earth they're surveying is flat?
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, this is going to be leaning on a heap of rubbish.
Everyone, hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining us for another video. Now, regardless of which side of the fence you're on about what shape the Earth is, one thing we all seem to be able to agree on is that surveying works. I don't mean the people who stand in the street with a clipboard asking you 95 different questions about your latest bowel movement. I'm talking about surveying using equipment such as Theodolites to survey an area of land and get accurate measurements.
Hey, Brian.
So you already began with a false dichotomy about regardless of what side you rest on, there's only one shape claim, and that's the globe claim.
Yeah, there is no flat. Flat's not a shape. Exactly. Flat is not a shape. But what I would say to you straight away from what he said is that this is something that we've seen for years with the borders. they'll start detailing a discipline and talk about how it works, and then they try to hijack it because this is a discipline that's used in reality. Then they try to hijack it and say, "Hey, it produce a globe," when it never does.
That's how they start off. They're affirming the consequent. Tell you something that works. Hey, you know why that works? Because we're on a globe.
Yep.
It only
Which can
works
then be
if we're on a globe. It
used
works,
in things
therefore we're
like
on a globe.
engineering projects. Now, if engineering surveying wasn't accurate, then big engineering projects would quickly go very wrong. And in a recent video, I'd shown an excerpt from a surveying training website called Learn CST, which was run by the National Society of Professional Surveyors in America. And the webpage in question was called Curvature Definitions for Land Surveyors.
Okay.
This should be interesting. And I
And
tell
the
you
last
what,
definition on
definitions.
yeah,
It's a rate of change.
yeah, exactly. It's a rate of slope. That's what curvature is defined as in surveying.
that
Because there's
page
going
was
to be
explaining
curvature.
how
It just
land
doesn't-
surveyors include 6 centimetres of correction per 1 kilometre of measured distance to account for the curvature of the Earth. Obviously, that is something
No.
they wouldn't have to do if the Earth was flat.
Right, that's brilliant. Now, what tools did he use to do this with, and where is the evidence to do this?
And in the video, I also included a demonstration that someone had done using a Theodolite across a lake to show that the lake itself follows the curve of Earth.
No, what they're showing.
Jesse
The what of the what?
Hold on. What he's showing is a theodolite with a dip to the horizon, and then claiming that that's the curve of the Earth. Now, we've had this thrashed out with other surveyors. Who was the guy that we covered this with in 2018, Adam?
Jesse Kozlowski.
Jesse Kozlowski. Course. No, this is a dip to the horizon. It's a perspective view. That's what we're seeing.
Well, you're above the horizon.
No, but
Sorry, what's his claim? In relation to the horizon?
Yes.
Ouch. So
Yeah.
what's the horizon then?
In his claim, it's got to be
let's
a...
firm up his claim, what he's claiming here, because we don't need to go any further if his points of reference are through to the horizon, which he states is the leading edge of a ball.
Yeah, well, that's the first problem. Second problem is it's sea level, the horizon sea level. So if you are standing with and your eye height above the water is 6 feet, then you're 6 feet above the horizon. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why it's calculated in celestial navigation as a vertical height difference above the water underneath the boat.
Precisely.
Dip correction.
That's the first place I'd go to. So this is a dip assertion. Well, yeah, he's above the deck with his theodolite. Okay, so what? You're talking about a perspective view and the dip between you and the deck. That's not Earth curve. But what are you saying? Excuse me, this is where we move on to Adam's point. What are you saying? You're saying that the horizon represents a physical geometric sphere edge? Black swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to that horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as dictated by your Earth curve geometry. The distance to horizon in the black swan shows it's beyond those limitations, therefore Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not Earth curve.
I even had a professional...
Sorry.
Go on,
So I
Brian.
can't see the video. But I know the only people that claim to be surveyors that brought out these kind of stupid videos or images were people who were just on the anti-flat earther side. And most of them, with the exception of Jesse Kozlowski, the rest of them were never able to prove they were surveyors.
Surveyor comment on that video to confirm that they do correct for Earth curvature. Despite all of that, there are still...
That's the standard. A comment on a YouTube video. You having me on? His assertion is that you're correcting essentially 8 inches per mile squared. Okay. Well, let's see it. You're telling me that theodolite view is what represents the geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and Earth curve at 8 inches per the mile squared dropping away from your position? Well, that's a surveyed drop. I want to see it bloody surveyed. I don't see a YouTube comment. That's the standard.
Flat earthers that say...
It's the wrong tool.
They were called out.
It's the wrong tool. If they were going to be measuring a change in elevation, which is what curvature has to be, then they must be using auto levels. Theodolites measure angles, vertical and azimuth. They don't measure earth curve or earth changes in the earth's elevation based off of sea level. That is what's known as rise over run, which uses horizontal distances between parallel verticals. Kind of like a measurement within celestial navigation, with the exception of the horizontals will be at different elevations to each other between the verticals. Because the whole point of it, that's how they measure slope. They're measuring slope based off of the different horizontal, parallel horizontal heights.
Correct, for Earth curvature, and that water is flat and level, etc., etc.
But it is. He's trying to step over that there.
Right, that's one of the tools they're using.
The dip correction can't work unless sea level is a horizontal. That means celestial navigation wouldn't work. It would always be wrong. This is the point. Sea level is a horizontal.
Start by creating a clear workflow on my...
Now, after that video, I actually had the head of a large surveying firm reach out to me privately to show me some more surveying material that they had that related to debunking flat Earth.
What about just showing a measurement? A survey of it being surveyed as curving? So far, I've had a YouTube comment and what, some historical flat Earth debunkings? No, these people are supposed to be measuring stuff, aren't they? Show us the measurement they made. Not a comment from YouTube.
I want more than the measurement. I want the tools they use and the processes they use.
Yeah.
So that can be replicated. Because they can just give you anything and call it a measurement.
Right.
I want more than that.
Comes back to what we were saying the other week. What are the standards for us versus globe believers? Well, the standards for a globe believer is really low. A YouTube comment will do it.
And it comes from a book called Surveying for Engineers.
Sorry, someone's at my door. Can you take over, Brian?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. But this is just the same nonsense. Like, who is this surveyor that supposedly reached out to him? Who is this guy? Will this guy publicly be named? Can I contact this guy? Can he go through the process with me? Is it possible for me to go to where he is and go out with him and he use his tools and show me how he's measuring curvature? Is he willing to do that? How is he going to get over a water level? Is he going to deal with that? Do you know what I mean? Does he agree that horizontal exists? Because if he believes he's on a globe, horizontals can't exist. And you certainly can't. You can have a tangent plane, but you can't
need a baseline. It's going to need a baseline, and in this case, is sea level for elevation profiles. That is.
Yeah, but if we're on a globe, he must use tangent planes, and that means you can only use one vertical. And it's not even a vertical because the tangent plane is not a horizontal, because there's no reference for horizontal on a globe.
Right. Well, we'll see.
In reality, we have the horizon.
So far as referencing his sources, we'll see how much actual meat he puts on the bone. Let's have a look.
So I went and bought myself a copy. It's nearly 600 pages long, and it is almost as brilliant for learning as Brilliant.org. Brilliant has hundreds of classes covering continuous, very relaxed you. They've recently intrigued /data. Like I said, this is Surveying for Engineering, which is about 600 pages.
We got that the first time. Okay, we know how many pages the book's got.
Pages that looks at, well, I'll just quote the back of the book.
Why don't you tell us the methodology and measurements that have come from it for a globe Earth with a curvature at the stated measurements you gave earlier, rather than telling us what's on the outside of the book?
The text covers engineering surveying up to the end of most second-year degree courses in civil engineering, building and construction.
Who cares? Just show us globe Earth measurements.
And is suitable for BTEC courses from level 3.
Again, who cares? We're interested in how it says they're measuring Earth as a sphere.
It's written by John Urin and Bill Price. Now, John Urin is a senior lecturer and currently deputy head at the university associated with land in 1985. This is the third edition. The edition is intended as an update to keep up with new equipment and new practices.
My God! And has he got so little substance in respect to Earth being measured spherical that he's got to go through this fluff for a straight minute?
Everything. Yes. From understanding how to set up the equipment, how to use it.
Whoa. Understanding how to set up the equipment, slide, up for a second, up. Whoa. You're going to need to slow down there, sunshine. You're going to need to go through what's being done, the tools being used, not just flash them up on screen for a second. What's all this? You need to detail what's going on.
Is it how to interpret the data?
Oh, that slide looked interesting. See if I can pause on that one.
Intended as an update to keep up with new equipment and new practices. And it covers everything from understanding how to set up the equipment, how to use it.
Oh, what we got here? This looks interesting. Let's blow this up nice and large so we can have a little goosey. This looks like angle measurements off a flat plane. Anybody see this from the G+ panel? What we got here?
No.
Can no one see what's on screen from the G+ Hangout in the live stream? If you go and pick up the live stream, I'm prepared to wait.
I gotta go to YouTube.
Let's not break the momentum with mumbling. Can you go to the live stream?
They're using a baseline.
This is going to require a flat Earth. I'm going to get up. It's too small for me to see on my little screen. I'm going to go up to the projector and just have a closer look. Can you chat amongst yourselves just for 10 seconds while I have a closer look?
Yeah, absolutely. I would point out that in engineering. Go on, George. Oh, I go then.
No, it's depicting a horizontal plane and then the elevations from it. That's how it's done.
Yeah,
but it requires a flat plane, though.
Yeah, because it's all elevations are vertical heights above mean sea level. The mean sea level must be horizontal because all verticals have to be parallel to do elevation. Because that's what like rise over run is. It's a vertical height differences across horizontal. It's just a breaking up of the horizontal. You know, all horizontals will be parallel to each other.
Yeah, if you're going to use a theodolite, you're going to need to get that sucker level. You know.
Exactly, and the same with auto levels have to be. You know, the whole point of an auto level is so it's level, horizontal. It creates the horizontal. That's what you need, because that's what rise over run is. It's a change in elevation, differential leveling as well. Same thing, part of rise over run. You know, where you have a person in the middle with a totally leveled auto level, and you have a person with a measuring rod of one behind them and in front of them. He takes a measurement of the person in front of him and does a 180 and does the same for the person behind him. And they move along. They move along then from there, and you know it allows them to get a measurement of elevation. Do you know what I mean? Over a patch of land. You know what I mean? So if there whatever hills or valleys or whatever or is in that, you know, that's how they measure it. You know, it's all based on slopes after that.
What I'm looking at on screen now is a flat Earth, A to B. That line is not curving. That's a flat baseline. So this slide that Dave McKeegan had up for a fraction of a second, this is proof of a flat Earth and how it's being measured, Dave. Why did you not focus on this slide for a prolonged period? Did you think the back of the book was more important than this that was only on screen for a fraction of a second? This proves Earth's flat, and how it's being measured is by way of a flat baseline, as depicted from A to B in both diagrams.
Yeah,
well,
because
that's pretty consistent with his last video where he was talking all about how a flat, perfect baseline is used. So that's pretty consistent. Thanks, Dave.
Well, if you're measuring elevation changes, then you're measuring a horizontal distance between two vertical heights, right? That's what you're doing. You always have to use, so all the horizontals, although they might be at different elevations to each other, they're still all parallel to each other. So you have to use a horizontal. There's no way to do it. There's no other way. That's how you do it. And if you're talking about, and that would be used for a roadway, a rail line, for piping, anything like that. It has to be done that way. Then if you're talking about using a theodolite, if you're talking about angles that are in the horizontal, that are azimuth, that's a horizontal angle measurement, if you understand what I mean, because you're measuring azimuth.
Couple of quick shout outs.
So
Shout
that-
out to, one second.
Well-
Shout out to Thea Megawerty. He says, the ground below you is below you, therefore globe. Yeah, right on. Also, Kotsura says, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Neil, could you say it, please? Thanks. Heaps. The answer is no, he cannot and will not. How dare you even ask? Thank you very much for the super chat, Kotsura. Really appreciate the support.
The very moment you want Neil to say something, he won't say it.
Okay, more importantly, Dave McKeegan's proving Earth's measured flat. His slide that stayed up for a very short period of time is showing the methodology of measuring Earth with a flat baseline. Here it is on screen now.
Sorry, my mute button was not coming off.
Well, let's not
Don't
focus
use
on
it
the
too
flat
much.
plane. Let's not focus on the flat plane. Let's hear the explanation of how the flat plane's a sphere now.
Interpret the data, and so much more. Essentially, this is a book written by surveyors for the purpose of training new surveyors.
On how they measure a flat Earth, you just showed one measurement with a load of tables and graphs. The tables and graphs you didn't qualify in any way, but the measurement we didn't need you to because it had a flat baseline, Dave. Yeah, Earth had to be measured flat.
It's not called How to Lie About the Shape of the Earth.
It's called How to Measure Earth with a Flat Baseline and Elevation Angles.
And it contains
It should be
several...
called- Hang on.
Was that projection just now?
Sounds like it.
The book should be called How to Lie About the Shape of the Earth, because if they're claiming they're measuring curvature in that book and they're not, which they're not, then it is a lie.
Just not
They
the
are
lie he
right.
thinks.
sections that are rather damning to flat earthers.
Really? What, like measuring the flat baseline that you showed on screen for a couple of seconds?
And it's been in circulation for 45 years.
Celestial navigation's been used for a lot longer than that, Dave. It all uses a flat Earth baseline, like the one you described last time, A triangles.
So let's jump straight into chapter 2.
Didn't need to. You've already flashed up some of the images that show how it's done. When you say let's jump in, is that what? Notwithstanding the flat Earth measurement that was just flashed up on screen for a second or two? Notwithstanding that, right, Dave?
Leveling.
If you just,
Leveling, eh? Do I need to critique this? Should we just let him read it out?
Section 2.1, level and horizontal.
Go on.
if you jump out the gate and hit yourself in the face with a shovel, I mean, where you got to go from there, you know?
Lines. Now, flat earthers will say that level means flat and...
Please, go back just 10 seconds to start that section, please, Nathan. This will be important.
Chapter 2, leveling. Section 2.1, level and horizontal lines. Now, flat earthers will say that level means flat and...
That's your cue, Brian.
No, it's this part I want to hear. It's this
That water finds its
because you and John were talking.
own level, so therefore water and subsequently the earth is flat.
See, the thing is, Dave, it's defined in your geometry. You have a begging the question proof of nothing calculator for your earth curve. And that calculator defines what level is. Surface level. It's part of your geometry. Yeah? In Euclidean terms, it has to be defined in order for you to derive an earth curve below that surface level. Now, you're saying flat earthers say that level means level. No, your earth curve geometry also says level is level. It's very clearly labelled in all of your earth curve geometries. Now, that surface level in earth curve geometry is very much a horizontal, straight, flat line. Now, if you're about to tell me how level isn't level, then you better get on to Mick West and Walter Bislin and the people who produce things like the Debunked curve calculator, because they have to define in their geometry what level means. And it's horizontal, flat in your globe earth geometry. Now, if you're going to be a bonehead and tell us that that's not the case, you're going to have a big problem.
Now, quote, the term level line and horizontal line are used frequently in leveling and
Shocking.
need to be carefully defined. A level line or surface is defined as a line along which all points are the same height.
Okay. So no drop if they're all the same height, meaning level. Okay.
Because the Earth is curved, level lines are also curved.
That's a contradiction in terms. To say that they aren't differing in height level also means curve when curve specifically does not mean equal in height. This is a contradiction in terms. This tells me that Dave is too stupid to recognise a contradiction in terms.
As shown in figure 2.1.
You see how this isn't the same height as this? Yeah? That would contradict the first half of the definition, read out by you, where they are of the same height. Now, riddle me this, clown shoes. Are these the same height? Because if they're not, it contradicts the first part of the definition of level. This would also infer that the geometry in earth curve mathematics that also has level defined as horizontal and flat is wrong. Because according to you, the very flat and level surface level in earth curve geometry shouldn't be flat and in fact should be bent. When bending, it would mean that one part is of a different height to another, contradicting the first half of your contradiction in terms definition. You complete clown.
Well, also, level has to be a horizontal plane that you're standing on and at your eye level, because for the depression angles he's getting ready to assert, he needs a horizontal baseline and an angle to the surface. So he's going to need two flat planes there. That he can't curve level because it's his eye level that he's going to take that angle from.
A horizontal line is one which is normal to the direction of gravity at a particular point, such as P in figure 2.2.
He's just invoked a tangent point underneath his feet, and he's calling it a horizontal, yet he'll invoke another one across an arc and call that horizontal as well. That means none of them are horizontal, because none of them can be referenced to anything. There's no reference for horizontal within his claim.
He just said horizontal bending. He just said horizontal's bending it. I'm just saying, he said horizontal is conforming to gravity.
Yes. So horizontal must now be...
No, that's not what he means. That's not what he means.
I know, Brian, but that's we're not focused on what you mean. We're focused on what he's saying.
Yeah, but what he's actually saying is not that. I'm trying to tell you what he's saying.
But we could
just give me a moment.
Okay.
What he's saying when he says it's to gravity, what he's talking about there is he's replacing the term vertical or zenith with gravity. The direction of gravity is down. So what he's saying is he's creating a perpendicular with a straight line that's going to a point on his globe, to the center of that globe, but where it meets the earth, his earth at that point, that's where the center of his tangent plane would be, and he's claiming that tangent plane is creates a perpendicular with that line.
Gotcha.
But when he makes the next line, that's also going to the center of his globe, and he's going to make another different horizontal, a different angle and degree to the original horizontal.
Gotcha.
So which one of them are horizontal?
Gotcha.
You understand? This is how they make the question.
Tangent planes and Dingleberry Earth. Gotcha.
Are therefore tangential to level lines at individual points.
Sorry, tangential to level lines. Tangential to level lines. So are they tangential to the bent lines? Or are the tangents straight? Because if the tangents are level, aren't they also bent? Because according to this, a tangent can also be... Get the picture up. Where is it?
To be kept.
According to him, level, which a tangent would be, a straight line, can also be curved, according to him, because the Earth is curved, according to this contradictory statement that he's reading out as I keep him on mute. Well, if that's the case, then your tangent can also be like this, can't it, Dave? Yeah, your tangent, that can be bent, correct? Doesn't need to be straight, because it doesn't have to conform and be at the same height. It could be at varying heights, okay? No, you can't bend straight lines. Horizontal is horizontal, regardless of this contradictory doublespeak that simultaneously needs tangent planes to be in reference when straight to perpendicular gravity, straight lines coming from the centre. Well, that's still tangent planes. That's straight, flat surfaces on a presupposed ball. Whereas you're saying, no, level can be bent. Well, then why do you need tangent planes? If level can be bent, then you don't need a tangent plane. They can all just conform your angles to these curves because level doesn't have to be straight anymore. It's absolutely nonsensical how he's depicting this nonsense, because he's taking something that is fundamentally defined in geometry and saying it can be bent so that you can achieve that. Straight line to the centre of Earth with a tangent plane. No, we haven't got it. Where's the straight line coming from if straight doesn't mean straight anymore?
Surfaces are therefore tangential to level lines at individual points. So what this means is that a horizontal line is a line that is perpendicular to the vertical line at any given point.
Well, then if it's like that, then these two positions aren't possible, because every point between them has got a curved baseline between them. Why are you depicting it this way? Earth's supposed to have a curved surface between the two. You're saying that you can measure it flat locally?
And because the Earth is curved,
It's
then...
just a part of the household.
Hold on, Chocolate. He said because the Earth is curved. Dave, are you blind? I mean, I'm just asking, because according to this diagram, it isn't. So what are you babbling about?
The vertical lines of two different locations won't be perfectly parallel to each other.
But they are. It's one of the principles of surveying.
And so the horizontal lines won't perfectly align with each other either.
See, that's interesting, Dave, because in your diagram that you had up when you flashed it up for a second really early on, they were very much on a horizontal baseline, both of them. Do you not recall showing us it in that diagram that you flashed up for a second or two? They weren't pointing away from each other.
This is the basis of the Theodolite demonstration. Which...
It's basis of the demonstration or basis of how they described it in the book when they showed it on a horizontal baseline, Dave? Because in the book, you did flash up how they do it. But you're now referring to pictures of Theodolites out in the field, as opposed to the diagrammatical examples of how this would be done. You've just thrown up your cartoons rather than what the book showed. You only showed what the book showed for a second, and now you're going to photographs of people in the field after giving us your cartoons. Where's the book? When 10th Man goes through what Harold Jacobi details about how measuring angles off a flat Earth can save your life at sea, he doesn't go out to pictures in the field, he just shows you how it's done and details how it's done with flat Earth elevation angle measurements off flat baselines. Like you also showed in this book.
Which I'd included in my other video. Put a theodolite and a target on...
Show us what's in the book. You babbled on about the book for ages. Where's the book?
Either side of a lake and set them to...
Why are we back to this cartoon? Where's the book? Where's the diagrammatical example from the book you prefaced this garbage with, Dave? Do we need your cartoon? Shouldn't there be an example in the book?
Is he saying that eye level is horizontal, but surface level is not?
Not in their geometry.
That's
their
all.
Geometry has it depicted as surface level and it's flat and horizontal.
To the same height above the waterline. If the lake is flat, then
this voids your argument.
The horizontal measurement of the theodolite would mean it was pointing straight at the target.
No, you see, what you've got here is an orthographic representation. And when you showed your pictures a second ago, we weren't seeing the side of the theodolite. What we were seeing is people's view through the theodolite, a perspective view, which is what I highlighted immediately. So these pictures... Sorry, why is it that I'm not seeing the side of the theodolite? Because when you hijack perspective, as I pointed out earlier, when I showed that you're just accounting for dip, the ground's below the theodolite when you look at the horizon, yeah? Well, those views don't match with these views. So you're doing a bit of a swindle here, Dave, because you're showing us what comes out of the lens on a theodolite in these images, but then you're moving to an orthographic view that shows the side view. See, this doesn't look like I'm seeing the theodolite. It looks like you're referencing the horizon and assuming it's Earth curve in spite of the black swan. But yet when you go to your diagrammatical example of how this would work on a sphere Earth, we're not seeing what we see through the theodolite. We're seeing the side of the theodolite. That's because part of your geometry, we fondly label begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve mathematics, requires that suddenly what we're describing through the lens of a theodolite is now us actually seeing the side of our own head in Muppet vision, also known as an orthographic view. No, Dave, we don't see the world whilst looking at the side of our own heads. And that wasn't what you showed a second ago, so I don't really understand why you've got this example on screen now. I mean, we'd also wonder why you're doing this cartoon when you've got a book to refer to, and it has got the diagrams of how this is done. you just chose to only have it up for a second after lending credence to your cartoons with the book, which this isn't. This isn't the book, Dave.
Nathan,
The waterline.
I have a set of orthographic binoculars to sell Dave if he's interested. They're going at a good price.
All right, orthographic binoculars. You look through them and see the side of your own head, do you?
Yeah, you see everything side on, yeah.
If the lake is flat, then the horizontal measurement of the theodolite would...
Sorry, the measurement would be through the lens of the theodolite, though. Do we take measurements and then see the side of our own heads, looking at arrows? No, we don't.
mean it was pointing straight at the target.
We wouldn't know. This is an orthographic view.
If the lake is curved, the target would sit below horizontal.
Really? Because as I'm looking at things through Theodolites, I'm not seeing angles side-on in orthographic view. But that's what you need for Earth curve. You need to be in Muppet vision looking at the side of our own head from space.
Which is what happens.
Really? So you're going to suggest that we've got a physical tangent point horizon? Well, if we've got a tangent point horizon, it would be no Atmo day, as we discussed in the pre-show. Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles and every distance to the geometric horizon asserted at this tangent point could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to horizon in the Black Swan shows it's beyond the physical limitations of a sphere Earth radius 3959, therefore the horizon's not geometric, not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere. Now, if you're to assert that we can get tangent lines, what is it? No Atmo day. Are you getting a tangent? Are you familiar with all of your brethren on the anti-flat Earth side telling us that we've got atmosphere? Yeah? Are you unaware of that? 7/6R in standard form? You're never going to get a tangent line, bonehead.
A level line, by comparison, is...
Sorry, is this level? What? Not having anything higher or lower than it, but you show a bent line when you say when we have level. And it's even marked in your stupid nonsense globe asserting book as being a level line. Now, again, it's back to my 4-year-old. When I try to explain to her what level means, this isn't it, Dave. Again, like the guy who bent lines for triangles. That would be straight lines meeting at vertices. This is not a level line, you complete idiot. You only need to look at your own globe Earth geometry, where it says surface level, to know that your geometry also requires on level being level.
Is judged as a line of which is equal height above mean sea level.
So lots of things being described as level.
Because the Earth isn't flat, then a level...
Because the Earth isn't flat, by assumption, we're going to have flat tangent planes that aren't the bent lines you just described. So we still need to use straight flat lines that we acquire when we assume the straight flat lines that could also be bent, but we're going to be using them straight, move to the centre of a sphere Earth that I assume. No, Dave, you've just explained that you don't need these straight lines because they could be bent, but yet you're still utilising tangent planes when begging the question of a sphere Earth.
Level line...
Yes, you can.
Sorry, can I point out that surveying prior to GPS and now due to surveying with GPS, or due to surveying in GPS, the raw data that comes out of a GPS unit is Cartesian, and it's referencing the surface of the Earth. It's not referencing the centre. That's spherical, right? It's referencing the surface because that's what surveyors use. They use Cartesian, right? Cartesian means that all the zeniths, right, for every Cartesian system, which are verticals, must be parallel to each other. Rise over run, right, which is how they determine elevations above mean sea level, is based off of horizontal distances between two vertical heights above mean sea level. And that's how they span for roadways, whether they're going from Los Angeles to Carolina. It doesn't matter. It's all horizontals that are parallel to each other and verticals that are parallel to each other.
Cool. 123 people watching. Please share the show if you've just joined us. Very warm welcome to you. You've only joined because someone shared the show with you, but it's good to have you. And please return the favour in kind by sharing the show. So smash that button, stick it on Facebook, stick it on Twitter, let people know. Shout it out your window if you don't have a share button available to you. Let them know. Flat Earth Debate is live. We'll stay so for a little while because I'm going to test the computer in a minute. We're only halfway through this video, so we'll do a little bit more, but then we may have to do this tomorrow.
Doesn't match a horizontal line. The book then doesn't...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What Brian just said there, have you got a citation for that, right? Because As soon as you've got that, it destroys them, doesn't it? If they've got to be parallel,
Yeah,
it destroys them.
Well, the citation I'm going to get a QE. I have to get a few for QE. But the one I showed there, I don't know if I can show it. I'd have to.
Yes, please.
Where is it handy?
Yes, please. We'll chill.
Yeah, I can.
I'll chat with Adam while you dig it out.
I get it from the
Yes,
QEs.
please.
1 second. I'll come back.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what was it, Adam? Just so you can tell the audience what Brian's about to tell them before he tells them.
Yeah, so what he mentioned there was talking about how surveying's done and that they're going to use parallel horizontals, so i.e. non-diverging zeniths, which if you're on a curved surface where down is generated by your orientation to the centre of a sphere, you will always have diverging zeniths.
Right, but that's not how it's done.
No, and that's the whole point I'm making. If Brian can get that citation and that's how it's done, then that in of itself, yeah, describes the fact that the zeniths aren't diverging. And if you don't have to account for a diverging zenith, then it's a flat baseline you're working from.
Hello, Quantum Eraser. Check me out with a completely smoothly running show. No issues.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it is. Right. Okay,
What's
Brian.
happening, ladies?
Got your citation up when you're ready, Brian. And tell us what it is.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I'll just go back. I'll have to pull it up. See, local. There's a pause up there. So this is called local tangent plane coordinates, right? So let's make it big there so I can see it. Local tangent plane coordinates, LTP, sometimes named local vertical, local horizontal coordinates, LVLH, are a geographical coordinate system based on the local vertical direction and the Earth's axis of rotation, right? You can ignore that. It consists of 3 coordinates. One represents the position along the northern axis, one along the local eastern axis, and one represents the vertical position. 2 right-handed variants exist, east, north, up, ENU, coordinates, and northeast, down, NED, coordinates. They serve for representing state vectors that are commonly used in aviation and marine cybernetics. Now, if we just go down, never mind axes, go down to the next. Local east, north, up. In many targeting and tracking applications, the local east, north, up ENU Cartesian coordinate system is far more intuitive and practical than ECEF, which is what Dave is representing from the center of his Earth, or geodetic coordinates. The local ENU coordinates are formed from a tangent plane to the Earth's surface fixed to a specific location, and hence it is sometimes known as a local tangent or local geodetic plane. By convention, the east axis is labeled X, the north Y, and the up Z. Local northeast down in an airplane, most objects of interest are below the aircraft, so it is sensible to define down as a positive number. The northeast down NED coordinates allow this as an alternative to ENU by convention. The north axis is labeled Z, the east Y, and the down Z. To avoid confusion between the X and X, etc. Is this article? In this article we restrict the local coordinates framed to ENU. So what they're saying there, and as you can see up at the diagram they have there, Nathan, up in the corner, if you look at that green square where you have the north, up, and east, that is what that green square is what surveying is referencing. Now, when they move on to the next square above that,
before you move on,
square. Go on, sorry, Adam. Adam,
before you move, you made it.
You're roboting, Adam.
Yeah,
Adam, you're roboting. Oh, he's ruining this for everyone, isn't he, Brian?
Adam, you're roboting.
Hold on, he's back. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
Much better. Didn't break the flow at all. Glad of your input.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay,
there
okay.
You go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Brian just said there that the surveyors are creating a geodesic plane. So is that a plane or is it curved? It sounded to me like the way in which they imagine they're on a ball, but to take the measurements and do the calculations, they generate a flat plane and build it on that. That sounded like what was being kind of admitted at that point by the description of a geodesic plane, which is a flat Earth as far as by any other language.
Geodetic, Adam. It's geodetic plane.
Geodetic plane, sorry.
Yeah, and in the diagram, what they're showing that green square, that's what they're talking about. But the problem they have is when they're surveying above, below, or either side or either corner of that green square, there also has to be a green square that will fit exactly the same as that. It has exactly the same dimensions as that green square, and has to also be a flat plane.
Yeah.
So
how
all
big
they
can
ever
the green
do.
square be?
How big can it be? Well, it's as big as the Earth is, as they survey the Earth, because the green square it depends. It comes down to what's the word I'm looking for? When it can be as big or as small as you need it to be. You can start like a tangent plane.
What I mean by that, right? Yeah, let me stop you off. Yeah. What I mean by that is it's not like I've got a maximum size to it when you create this plane. It can't have a maximum size which is caused by a limitation due to curvature, can it?
No, there's no maximum size.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's my point. So that once you create that plane to do your surveying and civil engineering on, it's treated and calculated flat at that point. So all the measurements you then take are plotted onto a flat plane.
Yes. Yes. And I have another citation prior to that, if you want me to read that one out as well. But before I do, Adam, the point Adam's making is that everything they do, and this is if you remember the presentations from a few years ago, Nathan, that I did on this, everything they do involves having to use parallel zeniths. But then after they've done all our measurements, what they then do, now most surveyors don't do any of this. It's only crazy surveyors like Jesse Kozlowski, who are crazy globe maniacs. They will then mathematically bring all those zeniths to meet at a center point of a globe. And that's what they do.
Reciprocal zenith angles.
Yes.
Yes, I'm well aware.
Yeah, so that's what they do. If you want me to read the other citation, I will.
Yes, please. I've got it up now.
Yeah, okay. Diagram 4, Cartesian reference system. Okay. It is important to realize that the center of a Cartesian reference system for an adopted ellipsoid may not be the true or adopted center of mass of the Earth. The latter is often used for global reference system, as used by the Global Positioning System, GPS. Furthermore, the direction of the z-axis may differ. What they're basically saying there is that they believe they're on an ellipsoid, so they can't use the center of their globe for elevations. That's what they're saying there. Now, geometrically, their globe is a perfect sphere, but because they must claim an ellipsoid because of the rotation that they also claim, that destroys them being able to use a center point as an elevation, as any kind of an elevation reference. So that means mean sea level must be treated as a horizontal, but they're not adding that in. This has led to one of the major requirements of geodesy and surveying today, which is how to relate global to local referencing systems, so that positions in one may be expressed in terms of the other, and vice versa. What they're talking about there is going from parallel zeniths to diverging zeniths, right, mathematically. This issue is not dealt with here, except to state that it is necessary to move from the ellipsoidal system to the local Cartesian reference system before applying some translations in X, Y, Z, and possibly scale change and rotations around these axes, as well to move from the local system to global. The Cartesian reference system is particularly useful as calculations are simpler to perform, no knowledge of spherical geometry being required, which you would need if you have diverging zeniths. However, the relationships between positions on the Earth's surface are difficult to visualize in this system, and this is particularly important in navigation, for instance. The concept of height is also unclear. What they're talking about there at the end point is they're saying when we try to take reality and bend it into our globe belief, things become a bit difficult for people to understand. That's basically what they're saying. So there you go.
Perfect.
Sea level throughout the Earth, and the z-axis is elevations above and below that mean sea level.
And none of that would be curved, right?
No, it can't be. They require
Ah.
parallel zeniths.
Oh, well, that's curious, being that you said it came from OSI. So those guys apparently are using flat coordinate systems. But then we just reviewed a video with a guy who named it "Why There Are No Flat Earth Surveyors." That's a little weird. What did you say?
Yeah, because they're all referencing a flat Earth. They just mathematically have to make it seem like they're not afterwards. That's all they're doing. You can't do it. That's why, as I said, that's what the questions I'd ask any of them is, okay, show me the tools you used, show me what you did, let's go through the processes. From A through to Z, let's do all the processes. You're claiming you measure curvature, let's show it. And they won't be able to show it. The ballers are at present claiming, right, that curvature, now QE might have a bit of a problem with this, right? So if he's eating his breakfast, take a moment. They're trying to claim that curvature is not a change in elevation. When in surveying, curvature is defined as a change in elevation, right? A slope. Because that means that what they're saying is you'll never measure curvature, but it's there.
So legit, that's the point we're at, that they have to now change the definition of curvature. That's cute.
Yeah, because it means that geodetic curvature that they're claiming is there can't be measured geodetically.
That's how you know it's there, isn't it? Because you can't measure it.
Yep.
Yeah. You know you're spinning because you can't feel it. It's one of those kind of things, isn't it?
But hi, Brian. But they do. I mean, in surveying, they do take into account like curves in surveying, but like like on a curve, if you like a bend in a road would be a
local level
curve like a ball, but they do that. Is that what they're on? Is that what they're on about?
But that's what. Yeah,
like it's that actual curve.
Yeah, if you Google what rise over run is in surveying, that'll tell you everything you need to know about how they would do that over the course of 100 miles of a motorway. Do you know what I mean? Or a road. How they would do that. It's all parallel verticals and horizontal distances between those verticals. The horizontals will be at different elevations to each other, but all verticals and all horizontals will be parallel. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing, like, but they want you to believe some other nonsense. They can't do it any other way. It can only be done one way. If you're using basic tools, that's the only way you can do it. And that is how they mapped out the Earth. That's why all the land masses are all correct. You know what I mean? Because they have surveyed everything, more or less. Absolutely every part of it. So they've surveyed it. But obviously on maps, they're showing that the world maps show them a bit messed up, and the seas are messed up in size because of globitis, but that's how they must do it. Rise over run tells you don't need that other than that. That'll tell you everything you need to know. These are the people measuring the Earth, and this is what they must do over large scale distances. Use the rise over run, which is rise is vertical height, run is horizontal distance. Rise over run. It gives them the slope rates. A 1/3 or whatever it is.
Does rise over run have a calibration chart for distance to accommodate for the curvature and the adjustment of rise, or?
No, it can't. It can't because they're using verticals and horizontals, so it can't. Because they'd have to be. Yeah.
So I'm on Fantasy Island, Brian, and on one side of the island, and I'm at sea level, right? Now, in relation to the other side of the island, what's its elevation height in relation to me on the other side of the island at sea level still? Is there a change in the X coordinate for my height above sea level? Because obviously, if I'm on top of the ball, stood on one side of the island, and I go to the other side, that other side of the island at sea level should be lower in a Cartesian representation. Is that portrayed
Yeah,
like
well, it
that?
can't. No, you can't. You can't put Cartesian into that.
No, so the other side of the island would be zero.
Well, it can. No, it can't. Well, you can't. If you're dealing with a sphere, you can't use Cartesian.
No, I'm talking about on just when they're surveying it, the other side of the island, the other beach on the other side, that's got the same zero as the side I'm on. It's on a flat baseline.
Oh yeah. Sorry, the zero, the XY plane is mean sea level. So any undulations on the island above that are measured vertically. You know,
but all sea levels, no matter how big the island is, where it is, how far it away is from where I am, they've got the same x coordinate for sea level as me. So and that x coordinate is exactly the same in the Cartesian system as where I am, i.e., it's not lower or higher than me.
Yeah, exactly. If sea level all around that island, let's say the island is 200 square miles. Is it square miles is the right way to say it? 200 square miles. Then all parts of the coast will all be any elevations from any direction in any angle, starting at any point, going at a diagonal across that island. All elevations will be referencing the same horizontal XY baseline as elevations above and below that. So let's say we use a mountain will have its elevation above that XY mean sea level, and Death Valley will have its elevation below that XY mean sea level. You know what I mean? That's how they determine all these things. So there's no way for, like, this is why I understand Bev, right? Why he focuses on water, why he focuses on that, because they need the oceans to be curving. They need mean sea level to be curving. That's what they need, right? But that means they need to change the definition of level. But then they can't do surveying if they're not using mean sea level as an XY plane, horizontal plane. Do you know what I mean? So this is like
they can change the physicality of water. Why wouldn't they be able to change the definition of level? That should be simple. Telling you that water bends and shit like that, right? Even though nobody's seen that, but yeah, you just go with that.
Well, this is the thing, you see. They must try and curve the oceans. Mean sea level, let's just say, rather than the oceans. Let's be specific. They must try and make mean sea level a sphere. An exact sphere is what they need to try and make it. And all elevations are taken from that mean sea level. So, but they're working off of, at the coastline of one country, that mean sea level, all elevations are taken from that exact coastline elevation. And the coastline of, let's say, South Britain and the coastline of France, they have the exact same 0 degree elevation. But they want you to believe that it's 0 degrees all along the curve of the water between those two locations, because it's all an equal distance from the center of their globe. This is how they must, but you couldn't do that. You can't get elevations off of that. It's not possible. You don't have a horizontal because there's no reference for horizontal. Which one is horizontal? You don't have a vertical because you don't have a horizontal. You know what I mean? You can make a right angle to a tangent plane, but you don't have perpendicular, because perpendicular is horizontal and vertical. That's perpendicular, not just any right angle. You can make a right angle on your floor. Do you know what I mean? When you're at your doorway, but that doesn't mean that doesn't make it a perpendicular. It has to be horizontal, which is a particular orientation, and vertical, which is a particular orientation. And one creates the other. You can't have a vertical without a horizontal. You can't have a horizontal without a vertical. As in, one creates the other automatically. And this is the thing. But what they're claiming as a curved mean sea level makes that impossible. And things like Cartesian coordinates, ordinate survey maps, the use of these coordinates when they're mapping everything, which they did in surveying, the use of these is impossible. You know what I mean? Like GPS is impossible, as we've referenced recently, because that's what GPS uses. GPS is not talking about when it's bringing you 100 miles from South Britain to North Britain. It's not talking about a curved Britain. It's talking about a completely flat plane. But they want to claim that where you are Adam, let's just say, let's say where you are now in Italy and where chocolate is now in Atlanta. They want to claim that that's the mean sea level between those 2 points is a curve. But it's impossible to do surveying with a curved mean sea level. It's a complete impossibility.
Nice one, Bri.
No worries. Just remember, they can't have horizontal. It doesn't exist. And in fairness to Bev, this is what he's worked on for years. In fairness to him, that is his main argument. Horizontal cannot, well, I won't say it's his main argument. I'll leave him say that himself. But the point is that horizontal cannot exist on our model. Level can't be horizontal, right? Because as soon as level is horizontal, it's over for the globe, right?
We don't have no problem with Bev. It's only when he says we could do, you know what, with an angle.
I know,
problem
I know.
with
There's certain
Bev
things
is,
that Bev says. I know there's certain things he says that, yeah, okay, we'd argue against.
Right.
I understand. But when it comes to just that basic thing where horizontal and level can't be different. Oh, yeah, because he's like, he nails them down. He's only interested in surveying what the people actually do in the real world to measure things, and that's all he works off of. And
so he's worked on horizontal as level for years.
Well, that's been his main argument. Horizontal and level are the same thing.
And you said he worked on it. You said he worked on it for years.
Well, not personally. If you know what I mean, that's his main argument against. That's what he uses against the globe all the time.
Funny, I just looked at the two words. It took me about less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, but it's not that he has a problem. It's not that he has a problem understanding it. It's that he uses that and that only as his main argument. He doesn't deal with any. He just walks straight off of that. And ballers are trying to prove that level is not horizontal for whatever 4 years, whatever that Bev's been around, and they can't do it.
But level must be horizontal for the Earth curve mass for them to equivocate with reality.
Yeah. This is the problem. You know what I mean? Level, surface level.
No, John. Reds told us years ago, math is reality.
So what they do is they have to measure the Earth flat with X, Y, Z coordinates on a Cartesian plane. Then what they do is they take those measurements and they put it over a sphere, and that's where they get the distortions.
Yeah, because they have to make all the zeniths diverge.
I mean, that checks out.
That's the direct opposite of what they tell us, correct? That's the whole point Brian was trying to go for. That's what jumped off the page at me the other day.
Yeah, like that was the same point I was making in my presentations, my surveying presentations years ago. They must beg the question. They must, after they've done all their measurements over using a horizontal plane with vertical heights above and below that, they then must cause all those verticals to diverge at a center point. Adam, that thing I sent you showing Jesse Kozlowski and Larry Scott, two claimed surveyors, trying to measure divergent zeniths. Now, I already made a video about it. Adam will know what I'm talking about. But this shows the nonsense that they have to do and come up with to try and the fraud they must go through to try and claim that they're measuring divergent zeniths or using divergent zeniths, something that's an impossibility.
Well, not to say that's not fraudulent, but still their zeniths are based on a 90 to a flat plane, even if they're claiming they're divergent, right?
Yeah, they still have to have it. Well, it's still going to be a 90-degree angle, yeah.
Like, I ain't saying it ain't nonsense that say that the zeniths are divergent. You know, I ain't saying that.
Flat plane, where did they get that from? On a sphere. Where did they get that again?
Yeah. This is the problem. They must use a tangent plane. Like, we get the same argument. Like,
They must use a begging the question of tangent. Because what's a tangent again?
It's a line that touches the circle at one point.
Oh, what's the circle that they're referring to when they talk about a tangent?
Well, they're referring to a 360 circle made into a sphere, a globe Earth, radius 3959 miles.
Oh, so just saying the word invokes sphere, like abracadabra. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But if we look at the same exact things, or that, let's say, a lot of the same stuff that, like, say, the likes of Bev and that will be told concerning surveying, where people will try to use tangent planes. The same thing has been they tried with us with celestial navigation. I've only had it just in the past couple of days, where guys are trying to, sorry, not just a guy, loads of these guys are trying to claim a tangent plane to get your angle off in a boat. I said, but you can't do dip correction to a tangent plane. You're not referencing a mathematical tangent plane. You're referencing the surface of the Earth for your correction.
So it sounds again like they're trying to get an angle to a sphere instead of the angle from the sphere. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's what they always do.
Well, see, this is a problem, though, because if they're saying level is not horizontal, then you're flipping your baseline and you're using your eye level as horizontal to get the angle to the horizon. They call it a depression angle. And that's how you calculate Earth curve math. If you're saying level is curving, then you have the curved adjacent problem again.
You can't have that. You can't have that. You can't have a curved horizontal. It's a married bachelor. Curvature is the rate of change of slope, and horizontal has slope of 0. For God's sake. Let's go back to 3rd grade geometry.
Next introduction.
But no, that is what they're doing. They're literally taking the basics of geometry. So even everything they claim, if you look at their spherical geometry, all it is Euclidean from a center point. That's all it is. They like, I have yet for any one of these guys, because I don't deal with them through audio these days, but I'm always, and this is something I've always done since the past 8 years I've been in this, I'm always commenting to them on YouTube, and they comment back. And I have yet, in all these years, found one of them that could actually detail how a spherical, what they would claim to be a spherical triangle is measured. None of them know how it's measured, because it's not. You can't measure a spherical triangle. The triangles don't have more than 180 degrees. Can't do that. You know what I mean? But what you can do is mathematically, using Euclidean geometry, you can create the appearance of non-Euclidean geometry if you use the center point as a sphere. Go on, Chocolate. Oh, I stepped on you. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just laughing over here. It's just ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, what was it that Bev used to call it, magicometry or something like that some years ago? Because that's what it is. It's just crazy. They come up with this crazy nonsense that doesn't exist. Imaginometry, that's it. It was great. Imaginometry. I mean, hats off to them for that. Like that says it. It just nails it, because it's stuff they're making up. All geometric shapes and geometry must adhere, right, to number 9. It must do. Now, I'm not going to go into that right now, but just the number 9, it all comes back to 9. So any of their geometry, so they're claiming a triangle with more than 180 degrees or less than 180 degrees, because they say you can have either with their spherical geometry, right? With their non-Euclidean geometry, then none of that is going to come to 9. And if it does, it's only by pure accident, the odd time. Whereas it has to come to 9 every time. You can't find me an actual triangle in reality, especially ones that's being used for measurements in some way. You will not ever find one of them that ever didn't amount to 9. There's always about 180 degrees. That's 1 and 8 is 9. Circles will always be 360. 3 plus 6. You know what I mean? You can have arcs, everything else, sections of a circle, all the different shapes that are out there. It all comes back to 9. Squares, rectangles, the different octagons, all these things, they all come back to 9. So if it's real geometry, it must match 9 if it's used in reality, right? Just mathematically, it has to. But what they use doesn't always. If it happens to come to 9, it's a pure fluke. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they're trying to claim this is what real geometry is. So what is the other geometry that we all use for everything? You know, if what they're claiming as non-Euclidean geometry, which is complete nonsense, doesn't exist, Because neither does, this is another thing, Euclidean geometry doesn't exist. Geometry exists. And you either do it the right way or the wrong way. You know, a triangle, a triangle more than 180 degrees or less than 180 degrees is not a triangle. It's that simple. You have a thing that is not adhering to correct geometry. You know, it's not that it's Euclidean or non-Euclidean. It's just not geometry. If it's something that you're claiming to be a triangle and it's not matching 180 degrees, then it's not geometry. It's that simple.
It's not geometry, but you can think of it like it's geometry, right, Brian?
Yeah, it's drawing. Let's be honest, right?
Art class.
Drawing at that point. Yeah, you're just drawing something. Doodle.
Well, what if I create a quadrant-based three-dimensional cube and use one corner of that cube as the center of my sphere and use a consistent R value out from that central point and use the cube to define my angles so that the intersection point between the radius value and the projected angle from the center where they intersect, that's an angle.
Yeah, everyone followed that.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about, putting a sphere inside a cube, John.
Well, it's just a quadrant of it, like an eighth of it.
Well, you're still going to need to use the cube, you see.
Funny enough, that's something people claim to be seeing in the skies lately. A sphere inside of a cube. Anyway, that's off topic.
Crazy things that people are thinking they're seeing.
Well,
Oh yeah,
I've just seen a
there's
video.
some non-geometry. Sorry.
Just saying, I just seen a video where they said that they've been doing autopsies on aliens.
Or you don't know they're having congressional hearings again on all of that?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say autopsies on Yumis.
They need to.
It's funny, I got a video of me giving a dragon a colonoscopy.
Anything from the Yumis? They've gone away?
I still can't get over Saturday. Right from Jump Street. And I didn't know that was that Brian Leakey guy. That dude, I think Winston's got him brainwashed.
Don't worry about that. We're on Yumis.
Yeah, you don't want me to go to Coriolis so bad.
What's a Yumi?
John, you don't want me to go to the Coriolis effect.
Hold on, wait a second. They all are going to. They're all going to lump into one anyway. We said that. What is it? Amalgamate?
No, there's got to be just go quietly, or you could come out and say, "Okay, I was wrong," and then we'll move on.
Go quietly into the sunset.
Stop! You didn't want to go to Coriolis because Rachie had you by the balls.
I listened back and I heard Nathan's live show last night. There was a portion of it, and the portion where I was speaking to Rachie was on it. And in fairness, I actually overtalked the hell out of her. I was like, wow, I really overtalked her. So
yeah, but she deserved it.
That was
Brian.
on me.
She did that. She did that to Adam, and she did that to no, just Adam. Oh, you overtalked her more than she overtalked you. I gotta listen again.
I did. I overtalked.
It's kind of irrelevant. The overtalking was because she was strong misrepresenting the position to move on. That's why I kept butting in. We were being quite clear and quite concise and asking very specific questions. Never once did we get an answer. We went on to things like, yeah, well, that's example is Coriolis and things like that. But we never really got her to even admit the truth.
Well, that's because she demolished you with the breeze.
Hilarious. Did you hear that? Yeah. She cites a balloon going forward in a car and then says, yeah, but you can't feel it on the back of your neck. So that's it then. You know, it was ludicrous. And what was presented by them. What? Yeah, it was brilliant, Brian. They cite that one, chocolate. It was just desperate waffle, which I hope is what was demonstrated to the listeners. Yeah. Whether we were over talking a bit or not, I think it was a bit on both sides because it was wasn't aggressive, but it was heated debate. But to me, I thought it was quite telling, the lack of response, the inability to answer, and the desire to straw man and go to things like I said, like
No,
drawing
I
the
think you missed it.
correlates.
I'm sorry, I think you missed it. She did concede. When I said that was an invalid hypothesis, she said, yes, I can agree with that. It's over.
Yep.
Yeah, but that didn't matter to him. Did you notice that? I didn't mean let's end it there. It meant, so I think this. So it doesn't matter whether it's an invalid hypothesis and affirming the consequent. Yeah, it didn't matter to her when you pointed those facts. It was irrelevant.
Well, that's okay. It didn't matter to her. To anyone that could fog a mirror, it's over.
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying. I hope to the listener, everything was explored, and then at the end, you summarised very nicely and demonstrated what a pile of waffle it was, that it wasn't substantial in any way and was delusional. Whether she recognised that, like I say, I hope listeners had all their points raised, answered by me, Brian, and then you destroying it with Nathan at the end with the hypothesis and fallacy usage.
Well, so can I summarize? Would I be accurate in summarizing it as a non-scientific affirming the consequent that is disproven when you step outside and look up?
Yes.
Yeah. My favourite one was the density gradient in a hot air balloon. How it's the Earth upward force applied to things that causes the density column. Yet somehow the air, which was now connected to the Earth in her model, was creating the density gradient when you're in a hot air balloon.
Yeah, but that I was listening to that. I wasn't on the. I wasn't in the server at the time. I was just listening, and I was gritting my teeth because if you're saying there's reason the hot air balloon was going up is because it's hot air that's becoming less dense that's rising. That means things that are more dense are going down. But there is no down within that paradigm. This is the part that I think Rachie is missed, because from the moment some months ago when I first commented to her about it or contacted her about it privately, the point is there is no down. Down can't exist because down only exists in reality as weight, let's just say. We can't say weight with gases, but let's just say an object falling is falling due to, it's more dense. Let's say a piece of metal is more dense than the surrounding air, but metal does have weight. You can put it on a scales and weigh it, right? Now, what I was trying to focus on, although it didn't go through very well with her, was weight. It's like weight cannot exist. And she was talking about how, no, you have more inertia than me because you have more mass than me, so that's why you weigh more. But no, inertia, how can you have inertia, which is a resistance to acceleration, without having weight? I can have a beach ball, and I can have a rock blown up with air in it, and I can have a rock the same size as the beach ball. Now, the rock will have more inertia, and it can also be described by somebody who wants to use the term mass as having more mass. But the reason that it is resisting acceleration is because of its weight. Because they want to, Rachie is, without attacking her personally, what I see her as her failing is she's invoking weight while also having to deny it. You can't deny weight and invoke it with inertia.
So you're saying the subpoints to the overall mother fallacy are nonsensical?
Yeah, they are. They're just
shocking surprise.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, man, when I go outside and them clouds are coming down at me at 9.8 meters per second, I get worried.
Duck and cover, baby. Duck and cover,
Duck
baby.
and cover.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!